Hi, welcome to Weighing What Matters, formerly known as the Friday Night GLP-1 panel. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am so excited to have each and every one of you up here. Thank you, Dave, so much for inviting the panel to On the Pen. It is an honor, and I absolutely love connecting with this community over here. We've been doing this for a year now over on TikTok, and it's nice to reach new people over here. So, I'm Sabrina. I am 43 years old. I've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and obesity and have been on a GLP-1 for 21 months now. I'm very, very passionate about uplifting this community. I mean, just that's the simplest way to put it. Reaching people and helping others share their voice. So I appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We are going to be discussing our wins, challenges, mindset, health journey, and everything beyond the scale. So I'm excited to have this, the very first all-male panel. I mean, look at this lineup. We got some titans here. So thank you guys so much for joining. Dave, thank you. I appreciate you so much.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be able to host this group of good dudes and yourself.
Thank you. You guys were all specifically selected because of your voice and who and what you are within this community. So I encourage you to be open and share everything as much as you're, comfortable with doing. Does anyone have anything before we do church announcements? No?
Church it up.
So obviously, let's be respectful of each other and allow each other to finish their thoughts before jumping in. I feel very strongly about this being a safe space for everyone. And then if you have not already purchased Dave's book, it's glpbook.com. It is a wonderful resource for anyone. Thank you. For anyone that is on this journey. Check that out. It's digestible and it's a great read for anyone. If you are interested in being a guest on this panel, please check out onthepen.com/Sabrina. We would love to have you up. Jay, please start us with a brief overview of your journey and where people can find you, and a non-scale victory, please.
Absolutely, I could definitely do that. Hi, I'm Jay. I am 40 and I am on a 23.5 month GLP-1 journey so far. I do struggle with lifelong obesity and a 2 year battle with type 2 diabetes. I've been on Manjaro or Tirzepatide, however you want to call it, for the entirety of that period there. And I have lost over 30% of my body weight along this journey, and I've gotten my A1C completely under control. It's been an exciting journey. I'm still on it. Want to lose a few more pounds still, but I'm feeling great and I'm feeling focused. And I love sharing my journey and some things I've learned along the way at here on YouTube and also on TikTok under the username here, VirgoJV. You can find me in both places. And of course, I've got to share that my big non-scale victory right now is that I just finished this years long project at work. And something like that with all the stress and the focus and time and effort would have meant that I added some pounds to the plate. And I would have gotten ballooned up larger. But I've actually gotten smaller since starting the project. And it's kind of nice to have stress and not have that effect on my body because I'm focused, because I'm taking this class of medication that helps. And just life is feeling great.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Charles, we're just going to kind of go. So we're just going to go that way.
Just naked.
All right, so I am Charles, also known as the Round Mountains That Bound. I am 50 years old. I have been on a GLP-1 journey for, 13 months now. I have lost just shy of 36% of my starting weight. All my health markers have turned from red to green, so I'm extremely excited about that. And I would say my biggest non-scale victory is getting rid of sleep apnea. I've had it for 20 years. I was diagnosed officially in 2005, and I got rid of that CPAP machine in December. Finally, I still find myself randomly reaching for it at night when I'm going to bed. It's just so ingrained in me because it was a nightly thing. I traveled with it, lugged it through the airport, went on road trips, packed it in the car. So it's just so ingrained in me that sometimes I find myself still reaching to put it on. And I'm just happy that I no longer have to deal with that. And you can find me at the Round Mountains That Bound, both on Twitter and Instagram, and also on YouTube. I'm just so happy to be a part of this community. I've learned so much from everyone on this panel here, and found inspiration from each and every one of you all.
Thank you. Congratulations on that non-scale victory. That's incredible.
That's awesome, Charles. Am I next? All right. I didn't know if I was the same on everyone's screen. So I'm Jake, aka Coach Z. You can find me on all my socials and everything that I'm dabbling in at therealcoachz.com. I am 38 years old. I've been on a GLP-1 journey since November of 2022. So I'm coming up on about 2.5 years. I'm down about 28% of my total body weight since I started, and lost half of it twice, actually. So I was one of the lucky ones that was on Mounjaro first for about 18 months, and then got kicked off with insurance issues and spent about 90 days fighting that battle, lost, and then gained some weight back and got it under control by myself, and then started out on the compound tirzepatide. So I was able to continue my journey on and been doing that ever since. So scary, wild times right now for those of us in the compounding world, but I've got faith that one way or another it'll work out. Kind of like the rest of the panel, I struggled with my weight pretty much all my entire adult life. So I was an athlete, and had 2 major ACL surgeries, and after the second one, my activity level just tanked. But I still ate like I was doing 2 days and doing sports and all that good stuff, which doesn't work out very well. And then a lot of, to be very blunt, a lot of mental health things that piled on top of that after that, that really kind of piled onto my weight from there. Just a lot of emotional eating, isolation, that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, just happy to be here and excited to share my story with people so that those that are struggling with similar issues don't feel alone. Because whenever you're isolated, your problems feel a little bigger than they actually are, I feel like. And there's a whole slew of us out there that are going through something similar or the same thing as you are. And there's a lot of people out here that want to help you. And I'm just happy to be a part of that.
What's your non-scale victory, Jake?
Oh, non-scale victory. Most recent one was I was able to get back into my 34 genes, which I was not able to get into a few months ago after I'd gotten off got kicked off Mounjaro. There's unfortunately a hole in my closet from a unfortunate temper tantrum that I threw whenever I didn't have any clothes that fit anymore because I'd gotten rid of all of them. I was like, I'm never going back. And so there, that was nice to be able to fit back in those. And this is probably even bigger. Through losing this weight and getting consistent at the gym and just getting my mobility back, my business has taken off, my personal side business, and we are actually purchased our very first home, so we'll be moving in June. And it's really, a very large hand of that goes to getting in shape and losing the weight and be able to perform my job, because it is a fairly physical job. So without having lost the weight, there's no way I would have been able to do the things I'm doing. So it's a godsend for sure.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Incredible. AJ?
I'm next. Okay. I am AJ, Big Boy to Slim Boy, on TikTok. I think Instagram and YouTube also. I really don't post there very much, so it's mostly TikTok for me. Otherwise, you can find me as AJ Cook, COOK. I started on the OG coupon card way back when, and I can't remember, 22, like September. I think I started mid-September of 22 sometime. I can't remember the week exactly, but I had some real good success in the beginning, immediately, with like working out, diet, and all that stuff. I just like it immediately like worked for me basically. So uh, I guess I'm one of those high responders or whatever they call it that a lot of people talk about. I have gotten down as low as 228. But in recent months, I've gone up a lot. I stopped taking it because I kind of got sick of the back and forth with compound, losing it, blah blah blah, this and that. So I took myself off in October. So I was frustrated. I'm not gonna lie, which I think a lot of people are that way. So losing insurance, blocking me, everything. I was just over it at this point. I had foot surgery in December, so I started back up again, and my low is 228, and I started at 466, and so then I got but I got back up to 315, but I'm back. I'm not fully back down, but I am back down a lot now. I'm like 270 something now. So non-scale victory, probably my favorite is we go to Des Moines every year to go to the theme park in Des Moines every year. And last year was the first year I was able to ride with my now 17-year-old, then 16-year-old on a roller coaster. So
Nice.
I'd never been able to do any rides with them ever in my life. Don't get me wrong, it's the last one I'll do because I'm terrified of heights. But yeah, no, definitely my favorite non-scale victory. So
Congratulations. It's amazing.
yeah.
Mike?
So hi everyone, I'm Mike. I call myself Mike on a Mission on both YouTube and on TikTok. I have been a bigger boy my whole life, but last February I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I had been considering going on Ozempic, which is all I'd ever heard about up until that point, but my doctor prescribed me Mounjaro. And it was
like, what is this crap?
I don't want this.
Listen, I'm the guy who's always in a name brand, and I was like, this is like off-brand Ozempic. I don't want it. I'm not kidding. But it was a game changer for me. My metabolic health changed pretty dramatically, pretty quickly. I'm not a hyper responder. I am, in 13 months in, I guess I'm down now 28% of my weight. Things aren't moving as fast as they once were, and I'm okay with that. Granted, I would love to lose more, but I'm just loving what my blood work looks like and what my overall health has been like. I spend a lot of my time on TikTok, especially trying to build community. That's sort of been my thing for a while now. My biggest non-scale victory. So for my 50th birthday, I splurged on this fancy hotel up in Maine. And one of the features that it has is like a 80 step climb down onto the rocks on the sort of out down the cliffs of the coast and onto the rocks. And on my 50th birthday, I realized there was absolutely no way I could do that and have any kind of stability. And we went this weekend, and I won't say I climbed all around, but I climbed around for a good 15 minutes, and I was pretty pleased with myself. So
Nice.
Ability to do some things I haven't been able to do recently. So
Proud of you. That's great. What a great feeling.
that was huge.
Yeah. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm 44 years old, and I have been on my GLP-1 journey for just shy of a year. It'll be a year and 2 weeks. And I'm down 31% of my starting weight. I started on Zepbound last May after having serious trouble with my blood pressure. I've always battled with obesity. since I was a preteen, and my weight went up and down a lot. And I was one of those on and off keto warriors who would do keto and accomplish a whole heck of a lot, and then get exhausted with keto and unaccomplish a whole heck of a lot. And that cycle repeated over and over again. And at some point, it just really stopped working for me. And while it stopped working for me, my health declined an awful lot. My blood pressure had gotten up to what my doctors had described as crisis level, and that I was kind of considered a likely candidate for a stroke. And so they said I needed to do something, because the blood pressure medication I was on, 4 different blood pressure medications, were not bringing my blood pressure down from anywhere below high from crisis level. So my nephrologist, my kidney doctor that specialized in treating high blood pressure, recommended a GLP-1 and consulted with my primary care provider, and I ended out on Zepbound. And a whole bunch of other things going on: very high level prediabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and really severe obstructive sleep apnea, among other things. And so I've lost the 31% of the weight, and I've lost all of those major health concerns along the way. And 3 of the 4 blood pressure medications are gone too, as well as the CPAP, just like Charles.
Nice.
So I've had quite a bit of a health improvement, and obviously quite a bit of a weight improvement. And so, so that it's gone really well. My non-scale victory, even though I kind of mentioned some in there, I think I'll indulge the most recent one. Ironically, Mike and I were in the same town in Maine at the same time this weekend. And my non-scale victory was I bought some new clothes, because nothing fits from last year. And I kind of rolled the dice and bought the smallest size jeans I ever wore as an adult. From 20 years ago, 21 years ago, I fit in a size 32 waist jeans. And I thought, well, let's roll the dice. Let's just bring those. And we're either going to be very uncomfortable or it's going to fit. And they fit, and I'm wearing them right now. So I'm in the jeans that I wore at 24 at 44, at least size-wise. So clothing non-scale victory there, which is recent and fun and exciting for me.
Congratulations. I actually just have a quick question for you, Brian. You said you were on 4 separate blood pressure medications, and they were not touching your blood pressure, right?
It brought it from crisis level down to high, which was, they were not satisfied that was enough of an accomplishment with 4 different medications.
When you started a GLP-1, was it quickly, or was it like a slow kind of turn on with your blood pressure? Like, was it just kind of like what your body had been missing,
It was relatively fast.
Yeah.
And they attributed it to sort of the somewhat unspoken anti-inflammatory benefits of the medication. It didn't require me to lose significant weight before my blood pressure began to improve. So I would say within 3 months, I was down to the 1 blood pressure medication.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Andrew?
Did you save me for last? What's up, you guys? My name's Andrew. Andrew C. Gets Fit on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They call me Mr. Wittercheck. Make sure you're drinking your Witter, please. Thank you. But I'm 40 years old. I just turned 40 in March. I've always struggled with obesity. I think for me, it got real for me after my mom passed away. My mom passed when I was 28. And life just decided to slap me every which way you could possibly think of. So, I got married, I got divorced, I moved. It's just been one thing after the other. And so it's just been life, unemployment, life, and then some. So this last go round, when we got around to GLP-1s, it was honestly, I was 278 pounds. I was up to a 40 waist because I lost the weight before. I got down to 182. So when I got to 278, I called people and said, that scale's broke. That's not me. I don't know where this woman got this number from, but it's not me. And everybody was like, no, that's your number. That's your number. So that was tough for me to see, because I told myself I would never gain that weight back again. And I was just so disappointed, and I was so angry with myself. I said, it's either going to be the table or it's going to be this GLP-1. One of the two was going to happen, because I had the money for the table. So one of the two was going to happen. But then I got this inkling, like, you lost this weight before. I think if you use this medication, from what the research are finding out, if you use it how you're supposed to use it, you can do it. So I got on the medication March 2023. And it started doing exactly what I needed it to do. You know, I really just used it. It got the appetite under control. I work from home, so I can't be here eating and snacking 24/7. I just can't do that. And that got those thoughts out of the way. I don't know my percentage, but I know I'm 100 pounds. It's been 100 pounds down. I'm down about 8 pant sizes. I started at a 40. We're now at 29-ish, 30, 32, something like that. My body fat was at 34%. It's now like between a 9 and a 10, somewhere in there. You know, I just really kind of hit the ground running with this thing. You know, I guess you can say I'm the fitness nut in the GLP-1 community. Other people are, but I'm the crazy person that's in there dancing with Sean T and doing all the things. So, you know, what I try to do is I just try to give people a very honest lens of what this looks like. You know, on social media, you can get very confused by the pretty pictures that you see from people and the edited photos and the filters. You can see so many different imposters on here when it comes to a weight loss journey with follows and things like that. So I always try to keep it very honest with people. You know, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be fun all the time. It's not going to be rainbows and stars. You're not going to want to do this every day, and you probably may feel tired and all of the things. So I try to keep my platform as honest as we possibly can. But I try to let them know, have fun with this thing. You know, if you don't enjoy the journey, nobody else is going to enjoy it for you. It is different from, you know, the 90s when we did Slim Fast, Atkins, and all the bars and powders and all the things. But if you keep an open mind to this thing, men and women can be very successful on this thing. So I would say my NSV is I get to do this. I never would have imagined, if you would have asked me would I be on social media doing an hour live, 2-3 hour live talking about me losing weight, I would have told you were crazy. Like, I'm just a very naturally private person, and that's just, weight loss is a very mindset thing that you kind of have to get into the thick of it and do this thing if you're really trying to do something. You know, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to take this jab today and lose 20 pounds tomorrow. It don't work like that. You know, so it's nice to be able to get the messages from people saying, Andrew, I never would have knew about this medication if you wouldn't have told me. I never would have knew I can get home gym stuff in my house if I wouldn't have seen you do it. You know, so little things like that kind of keep me going with it.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I guess that's me now.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I just wrote down a little something from what everybody said here. so bear with me. Jay, I think it's huge. Not gaining through stressful times is a huge non-scale victory. I think that's like, if I were to pick one overarching non-scale victory from my entire journey on the meds, that would be it. It's that those things that often derailed us, sans medication, have been unable to derail me. And so I echo that. Charles, 50 years old. I'm just going to say it, all dude panel. That's a good looking 50. That's a good looking 50. And he's doing all the things that he's calling out, all the channels and all the places you can find him. I'm still waiting for like the smooth jazz radio station to pick you up at like 9 o'clock at night.
I'm working on it.
This round is about. Jake, I think low key, I think you could pass for my thinner younger brother. The blue eyes and the beard and the whole deal. It's a very beard panel, except Sabrina forgot to wear her beard tonight. Let's see what else I got. AJ, Des Moines. You go to Des Moines every year. You got to come up to where I'm at. It's a town called Waterloo. There is you probably go to Adventureland, right? So you've got to come up to Waterloo. Way better than Adventureland. It's got a water park and a theme park, and there's nobody there. It's undiscovered. So you got to come up here next time. And the corn in Nebraska sucks. Mike got to meet Brian last week, and Mike and I get to meet next week. So Mike and I will be catching up in DC at some point. So that's awesome. Brian totally identified with the keto warrior thing. I think it broke me long term. I think 20 years of the yo-yo and roller coaster of keto, I think it broke me metabolically. And I also think it's super gutsy to wear your skinny pants while you're sitting down for 3 hours, because I'll tell you what, for me, I'm still in sitting down for 3 hours means stretchy pants. I'm going elastic waistband all the way for the next 3 hours. And then let's see, Andrew, does San Pellegrino count for water check?
Yes, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Okay.
We'll
All
take
right.
it.
All right. Awesome. So I'm Dave. I have a website and social media presence called On the Pen. Was born out of my journey with type 2 diabetes. There's a lot of similar stories on here. A lot of similar stories. Mike, Brian, Jay, the diabetes diagnosis a couple years ago. As I talked to my doctor about how we were going to treat that, I didn't want medicine, so he put me on keto for another year, and I was like, I've been doing this for 20 years, but we'll give it the old college try. I did it, white knuckled it for a year. A1C went from 7.9 to 5. I mean, really, really well-controlled diabetes. The keto diet, I feel great on the keto diet. When I'm eating carbs, I don't feel too great. I still try to eat that way by and large, unless I'm just willing to feel like crap all day. But that said, I went from 319 to 312 in 1 year of strict keto. And I mean, I remember telling my wife, like, I'm broken. I'm tired all the time. I can't lose weight. Like, something is not normal here. And so at that point, my doctor was like, well, you need to have bariatric surgery. I didn't end up having coverage for it. So he introduced me to this class of medications. And I walked out that day, a year after my diabetes diagnosis, with a script for Mounjaro, and went to the internet. Didn't find much information about it at that time, or really much community. I wasn't on TikTok at the time. So it was like YouTube. It was just a couple creators kind of talking about it at that time. And quickly after I started sharing my own journey, I just started sharing everything I learned about it, and I got obsessed with the news around it and future medications, yada, yada, yada. And that's sort of how On the Pen was born. I am down about 12% of my starting weight, including the year of keto and then Mounjaro. And I've been at that point really plus or minus a couple of percentage points since about 4 months after I started my journey. So my journey was a little bit disjointed. I started on 2.5, moved up to 5, skipped to 7.5, went to 10, skipped to 12.5, went to 15. So I got to 15 really quick because of shortages. And my doctor, the plan with my doctor at the time, there was no good information on this other than the clinical trials. And the idea was just get to 15. That's where people lost the most weight. So I was on the 15 and then ended up really just kind of bottoming out on what the medication was going to do from a weight loss perspective after about 4 to 6 months, let's say. And since then, it's just been sort of a game of, just trying to figure out what works for me. But I'm thankful to, back to the point that Jay was making, I'm thankful that I've been able to lose that, let's say 10 to 12%, because that's where I sort of maintained my weight loss with the medication. I've been able to do that without going up, above my weight that I started the year with. And that's the cycle that I was on for 20 years. So Mounjaro for me broke that cycle. I'm very thankful for that, and very much anticipating the next generation of medications, definitely exploring the idea of weight loss surgery, whatever I can do to prolong my life at this point. My non-scale victory for this week, gosh, I think from a health journey standpoint, this past week, I have just had a lot of energy. I don't necessarily know why or what that has been, but I have, like, at different points during this week, I've just been like, man, I feel really good. I feel really energized. And I think some of that is just managing my stressors a little bit better, like learning to say no and learning how to appropriately kind of divide up my time and my resources. And so, yeah, just feeling really good and really energized, and got some really exciting stuff I'm working on in the background too, which is giving me a lot of energy too.
I love it. That's a great non-scale victory. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I forgot to say where you guys could find me. Brina_727 on all the platforms. And my non-scale victory for the week is I finally got back on the Stairmaster. I've been side-eyeing that
Let's
thing
go.
for months because I've got a bum right knee, right? So I finally was like, it's time. And of course, I didn't make it for a very long time. And I was fighting for my life after a couple of minutes. But afterwards, I didn't feel defeated. I felt encouraged, and I could not wait to try again. So that's my non-scale victory.
That's awesome.
You're going to give Big T a run for his money on the
I know.
Stairmaster.
Well,
now,
that's how it started. So for everyone who doesn't know, Big T is the one who got me started on the Stairmaster. He would be doing like 200 flights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
You would go on that thing.
well, I could do 200 flights. No, I can't. No, I can't. But I keep trying. I keep trying.
He will go on that thing. He will.
Yeah. So we'll see. But okay, so does anyone have anything before we get into the questions?
If Big T's watching, I've seen your house, bro. It's time for you to throw a GLP-1 get together at T's place on the lake.
He has more supplements in his house than me. He has more than me.
I'm pretty sure he like some people have like a nice wine cellar. I'm pretty sure T just has a basement full of Manjaro.
Yeah, he does. He needs to send me a care package.
Okay, well, let's just get started. So this question comes from Brian. Okay, so the majority of people sharing their GLP-1 journeys on social media are women. And culturally, it seems that women are generally more comfortable talking openly about the emotional experience of living with obesity and their health challenges in general. Men, on the other hand, are often expected to seem unbothered by their physical insecurities and tend to avoid talking about their health challenges. What gives you the motivation and strength to share your experiences so openly, despite those gender norms that tend to cause men to keep their struggles to themselves? Brian.
You want me to go first with my own question? All right, fine. That seems fair since it was such a long question.
It was a good question.
Well, I've often said that when I first started on a GLP-1, the first thing I did was go to social media to learn about it because I, like Mike, had heard about Ozempic, and that's what I had heard. And so when my doctor said Zepbound, I said, say who, what now? That's a what? And so I went online to learn about it, and to some of the earlier point that we were talking about even before the show is that many of the creators are women on there, and I really didn't see myself reflected back at first. So I found myself looking for guys on a GLP-1 talking about their experience. Many of the faces on this screen were some of the people that I found. And, for me, I felt like there was a little bit of a void there, just by the numbers in comparison. And so for me, part of the reason that I started sharing was because I was grateful for the few voices that I found that were relatable to me. And I wanted to just contribute to it because I felt like if there was somebody like me who was starting after me and was looking for somebody who they could relate to, and looking for somebody who was being honest about the fact that weight was a motivation, but wasn't the only motivation, and was talking about the health concerns and was talking about the, sort of fear of their own mortality and trying to do something proactive to keep themselves alive and well. That perspective was important to me. I wanted to hear more of it. So I decided that I would share because I've always been of the mindset is if you see a gap, try to fill it yourself, right? If there's something that you think there's a void of, try to be the voice that fills that. So that's what I did. And that's how I got into it. And then I think creating content and talking about it actually, I don't know whether it's an algorithm thing or it's just a community thing. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But I started to find people, I started to find other guys talking about this the more I was talking about it, whether it was because they were commenting on my content or because the algorithm was like, oh, you're a guy and you're talking about GLP-1. Here's other ones that you might be interested in. And I stumbled upon all these faces on the screen through that process in short order, and really grateful for it. And that's not to say anything negative about the women's voices, because they add a lot of value and information and perspective that I value as well. So I was just seeking to kind of balance that out a little bit, just so that I could see myself reflected back a bit.
You know, I love that, you know, Brian said there was this void and he's like, let me fill this space. That was not my instinct. Not even a little bit. I was actually 8 months into my journey and just hanging out on TikTok before I even started to create content. The guys that I saw, there were like 5 guys I saw creating content. 3 of them are on screen right now. Dave, Andrew, AJ. I saw them creating content for that 8 months. You know, 3 out of the 5 guys, and I was like, "There's just not a lot of guys in space. Why is my voice necessary?" Because even in the comment section, like it's mostly women engaging, asking questions, and it never really clicked for me that maybe men aren't engaging because they didn't see themselves, you know, or they didn't feel like the space was welcoming. You know, that didn't register for me. And the only reason I started creating content was I wanted to help people, while one of my favorite content creators was on vacation. I was like, ugh, they're on vacation. What do I do with my time? And so I decided to start creating content. But then as I created content more and more, I was like, I feel like I might be helping people. There might be a space for me to continue to help people that weren't helped by voices that were here. Maybe my voice matters just enough where I should keep doing this. And that's what drives me, is that there may not be a giant void for me specifically to fill, but if there's one person I can help, if there's 2 people I can help, if there's anyone at all that's going to be helped by my presence, I have to keep showing up, because that's my North Star, just helping as many people as I can in the spaces where I can.
That's powerful. And so, like, true. I'm just going to interrupt you guys really, really quick. I was planning on doing this all male panel since October, and I just kept putting it off. And I just didn't feel like I was the right person to do this. And ultimately, it was something that Brian had said to me that kind of made something click in my brain that said, we need to elevate the voices, the men's voices in this community. And there are so many people out there who are silently watching or silently suffering and don't need to be. So if you guys are wondering why I am hosting this, it's because I want to also help people. And I'm very grateful for every single one of you. Every single one of you.
We appreciate you too.
Thanks for making space for us.
I think for me, getting into content creation is more similar to Brian. I wanted to be for someone else what I was looking for myself. When I started my journey there, I wasn't on TikTok at the time. I think I started in January, and so I went to YouTube to try to find out as much as I could about this class of medications. And I saw Dave and probably one other person on YouTube, and I think I didn't join TikTok until April of last year. So once I got there, I seen a lot of other men. Still not a whole lot, but there were more than what was on YouTube. So I just wanted to be that bridge to someone else. And I hear from other men in my comments all the time, thank you for being a voice. I was looking for someone like you. And I come from a very alpha male background. You know, I played college football through college, Division I college football. So it's kind of a, you know, tough it up, buttercup type mentality, rub some dirt on it and keep moving. So a lot of men don't talk about these things because of that kind of culture. And so I wanted to kind of bring that out a little more. And it's not easy for me because I'm a very introverted person. And I you know, I interact with people well. I just don't like being in the forefront of a lot of things. So I just like working from the background and making moves that way. But we just don't talk about these kind of health challenges. Like recently, or last May, I started the process of being diagnosed for. This is just for an example. I started the process of being diagnosed for prostate cancer. I was 49, getting ready to turn 50. Never in my wildest dreams that I think I would have this diagnosis at the age of 50, but I did. And there weren't a lot of men talking about that either. And I found out after I got diagnosed, at least two of my uncles on my dad's side and both of my uncles on my mom's side had prostate cancer. Had no idea because they never talked about it. Never heard a word about it until after I got diagnosed. I heard more about breast cancer awareness, which is also great to talk about because people need to be aware. But from a male's perspective, you don't hear about this kind of cancer that affects us. So I also wanted to be that voice there. I think we just need to be more open to having these discussions, whether in our friends groups, in our families, or on social media, to bring these kind of things out, because you can save a life, whether it's prompting someone to go get tested for prostate cancer, or someone to start their GLP-1 journey, or any kind of health journey to prove the outcomes of their current condition.
It's weird that you bring that up because, for a lot of us, this health journey part of it is strange and kind of foreign because the way that being a bigger man is perceived isn't always necessarily as a health issue, even though it can be and often is, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some social currency that comes with it that you're supposed to carry it with some pride. Like I'm a big guy,
Yeah.
so you're supposed to carry it with pride, and you're not supposed to think about all the other repercussions. You're just supposed to look at what value you can provide to other people or even yourself in the space, and there's just not a lot of connecting the dots or having the conversation like, yeah, being a big guy means I could probably take out 3 or 4 of those losers over there, but
Yeah.
it also means that I might die of a heart attack in half a decade. Like, can we talk about both sides of that coin? Like, it feels like we miss that opportunity, and like us talking about the repercussions and the possibilities. I think it's a huge deal.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree.
Kind of piggyback off Charles there, just in the kind of the taboo of us talking about anything that's wrong with us, right? Because in general, especially, the way I grew up, it was suck it up. Like whether they can help you or not, you are a man and you have to pull yourself up and get after it because people are relying on you. And for me, like kind of one of the biggest things was I was ready for radical change, and I was literally on the verge of getting gastric sleeve. My wife got gastric sleeve, lost 100 pounds, did great. That's not an easy journey for anyone considering it. It's not an easy journey. It's rough. But it is effective. It does come with its own set of issues. But anyway, I was in the last appointment before I was going to go in for my procedure, and my provider was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this GLP-1 medication called Mounjaro?" And I was like, "No, it sounds like some bougie something or other. I don't know, what are you talking about?" She, she explained it to me. I was like, "I don't care what it is. I'm just ready to not be this.
Yeah.
Like I'm done with whatever this is. It needs to die. It needs to be gone."
Yeah.
And that was like 6 months into and I'm gonna shamelessly plug a program called Regeneration and my counselor, right? Because it's a faith-based 12-step program, and I spent over 6 months working on here and here before I was even remotely close to working on my body. I had to get my mind and my spirit right before I could even look myself in the mirror in such a way that I was ready to accept what I had done to myself, and feel any kind of glimmer of hope. And that right there was why I started putting myself out there, was because I've been to the point where there was virtually no hope after years and years and years of, keto warrior shout out. Like I was the same way, keto, carnivore, every crash diet under the sun, every program under the sun, every workout fad under the sun, just doing everything that I knew to do. I mean, I have a degree in this stuff. Like, you want to talk about feeling like a failure? Like, my degree is in exercise science, and I'm a exercise physiologist, and I was in the clinical world for working with kids that were obese and pre-diabetic and all this stuff. I was a clinical director, so it's like I had all the knowledge and I was applying a lot of it, but I still could not see the results, and it was infuriating more than anything. And the only thing that changed for my journey was getting my mind and my heart right, and then also starting at GLP-1. Like, from an exercise and diet standpoint, I'm not doing anything different. The only thing that changed was the addition of the GLP-1 medication, and all of a sudden I started melting away, and I was like, kind of vindicating in a way, is like, maybe it really wasn't my fault that I had struggled like this for so long, because I had so much metabolic dysfunction that, like, I just could not lose it on my own without some help. And I just wanted people to see a story that was relatable, like, and be able to feel that glimmer of hope, like, okay, if that guy did it, maybe I can do it too. Like, and it was one of those things where I want to preach, like, mental health and spiritual health and, like, all the pillars of health in general, because this is an all-encompassing thing. I'm going to go a little off topic real quick, but one of the things that surprised me the most on this journey was that losing the weight did not make me as happy or feel joy like I thought it would. It's fleeting, right? And even now, I'm sitting at 207. There was at 272, I would have killed to be 207. After being stuck at 207 for about 3 or 4 months, I'm frustrated. I'm angry at myself. Like, oh, I can't lose. Like, but there was a guy a couple of years ago that would have, like, moved mountains to try to get to where I am now. And so, like, pursuit of the health and the health journey side of things, like getting all those other things right. I feel like the weight loss will come with just doing the things the right way, in addressing all aspects of your life and finding that whatever that balance is for you. That's really what I've come to pursue, is balance in my life where I'm not doing extreme diets, I'm not doing extreme exercises, I'm doing something that is sustainable for a long period of time. And I want to show people that it can be done without doing anything crazy and anything dangerous, right? Because there are some of these things that people try, these crash diets and whatever else, they are dangerous. They can be. And if you're not in a place, I saw, no shade on them. I'm proud of them for being at the gym doing what they're doing. But someone who was 300 plus pounds trying to do 36-inch box jumps, I'm like, like, it was impressive, but it's like, one wrong step and you sideline yourself for weeks or months, and then, like, you're derailed. And I just wanted people to feel encouraged, and I wanted people to do things in a way that was safe and sustainable, and where they can find that consistency and balance in their life to where they can do it forever. And with my knowledge and background is, like, kind of a cautionary tale of, like, you can have all the knowledge and all the experience and even lead people in other ways and still fail in it in yourself until you find what works for you and find the balance for yourself. And this is not a one size fits all type situation. So there's a lot of tweaking and a lot of trial and error that comes along with it, because what worked for me is not going to work for Jay, and what worked for me is not going to work for Dave all the time. There's general recommendations that we can make, but it's not always going to work for everybody. And I just want people to try. I just want people to take that first step and know that they have a whole community of people to lift them up when they fail and celebrate with them whenever they win.
I love that. Does anyone else want to answer Brian's question?
I'll say I sort of backed into content creation. I found a couple guys very quickly, and that was it. All I saw was women, and it was woman after woman after woman as I scrolled. And I was hopping into the guys' lives and asking them questions, but I'm one of those people that doesn't want to just listen to one person's opinion. And so I kind of decided the best way to do this was probably just start an account for this purpose and ask some questions, and I'd delete them. I really didn't think I would keep my content up for long. And I asked some questions like, what are the supplements that people are taking? How do people decide when they're going up on dose? And I was getting lots and lots of opinions. And I think maybe my fifth video was, hey, where are all the men here? Why aren't the guys here? And a bunch of people hopped in my comments, and that's when I found AJ and Pug and Jay and Nate and so many other of the male creators. And it's like the whole world opened up at that point, because I was like, it wasn't that I wasn't valuing women's opinions.
Mhm.
It was that I really felt like there was something wrong with me as a guy being on this space, taking a med that was clearly only for women, if that made any sense. So that was sort of how I backed into it.
That makes sense.
I can go. I guess for me, the first time I lost the weight, I was completely closed off. I didn't talk to anybody. It was very much we were dialed in, and that was it. But so many people asked me how I did it. So when I came to the TikTok situation, you know, of course, I can't found out about the Mounjaro and everything through a woman, which was fine. But I said, I don't want to go the personal trainer route. I don't want to go the bodybuilding route. But I do want that lens into an honest weight loss journey. So my goal has always been to fuse the two together. So you will see my before and after picture, which is honest, because some personal trainers will show you their before picture from 10 years ago, way before you even tried the medication. We'll talk about that later, but that drives me bonkers. So I wanted you to see an honest comparison. This is what the weight loss side looks like. This is what the fitness side looks like. And you can see them both together, because so many people start and they're like, I don't know anything about supplements. What are you talking about? Protein, vegan protein, electrolytes? I have no clue. And that's why I tell them, you know, I created my page so you can find supplements. You can find everything that you need there. I've spent thousands of dollars on supplements a month. I've been there. I've done that. I could tell you vitamin shop backwards. Okay. And I didn't want anybody else to deal with that. And then there was the portion of being a black male and being a gay black male. And, you know, that's an interesting combination. You know, a black man, we don't trust everybody. You know, weight loss and talking about vulnerabilities can sometimes be perceived as weak to some people, especially to women. So, you know, that's a problem there. Then you jump over into the gay side. That's a whole different song and a dance, because we're judged by how we look every single solitary day of the week. You know, so that I wanted it to be a positive space where a 20-year-old man that wants to lose weight, he can say, you know what, he's actually doing it. He's a man, he's black male, he looks like me, and he's gay, and he doesn't care what anybody says about him in his comments when he shows a before and after photo. So I wanted them to have a space where they could just let their hair down and be like, you know what, if he can do it in his house, I can do it too. I've done it in my living room. I've done 80% of my journey in my house. I didn't go to the gym. I tell everybody you can get a set of weights, a yoga mat, and an exercise ball, and you can have you a gym in no time. You know, and I think a lot of people were shocked by that. So being able to do that, being able to be that voice for black men and gay black men it makes it all worth it for me.
I love that. I love that.
I do have to say something. I don't know if I can go as good as Andrew, because let's face it, I'm not a gay black man, but there was nobody, and I mean nobody, sharing when I started. And I started sharing my journey August 1st of like 2022, and I did it as an accountability post. And I didn't start, you know, Mounjaro until middle of September sometime. And then I literally found a triplet dad. Jamie was one of the first people that I found. And he was going all out, and like I was going all out. And we were at some point we were feuding like back and forth. Like I'm losing more weight than he is. He's losing more weight than it. Obviously I won, but that's besides the point. But there was a ton of girls. There was nobody like me, which is fine. But I didn't want like Mounjaro to be my main focus. I wanted people to be like, hey, I took the medicine, but that's not who I am. You know, I went the gym route, and I have a personal trainer, you know, like one of my best friends now. I did a whole bunch of stuff. I changed my whole life basically. And, you know, Mounjaro was just a part of that for me. And I just wanted people to know like, hey, this is what I did. You could do this also. You don't have to, but you can if you want to, if you're like me. And I was in a very desperate and vulnerable spot when I started sharing my journey. So coming off of the things that I came off of, my injuries and all that stuff, and a lot of you guys know my story. I mean, and it's just
AJ, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Will you briefly, just very, very quickly explain what happened, like your injury?
So I had the year before then I had broken my neck. I was 466 pounds when I broke my neck. I had a bunch of problems, and then I broke my neck again in February of that year. So I'd lost like 30 pounds in between breaking my neck the first time and the second time, which is the second time I tripped over a rug and hit my head, which is dumb, guys. I'm sorry, but like I feel like an idiot saying that, but it happened, and because my injuries were so fresh, it happened again, So I literally couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I was in the deepest depression I've ever been, and I decided I started my journey August 1st, but I decided I was watching TikToks of Heavy Modified. If you guys have ever watched him, dude's lost like 400 pounds. Bodybuilder, dude's amazing. And I was like, I should share my story because there might be somebody out there that's like me. And I have met people that have broken their neck and came back from, that are doing the same thing, bariatric or GLP-1s or naturally. And so that part of my story has resonated with people. So I'm really happy about it. It's almost like it was supposed to happen because I reached out and told people, hey, you can do this. You can figure this out. You can come back from anything. So that was kind of like my thing. And Sabrina, I'm going to be honest with you. If I wouldn't have been on this panel in October. So I believe everything in my journey has happened for a reason. I've met everybody on here for a reason. I truly believe I believe in God. That's my belief. Some people may believe in a spirit above, whatever you believe in, but I think everything happens for a reason. And I wasn't good to talk in October, so I'm glad that it's happening now. So
I'm so happy that you're here, AJ.
And AJ, I'm so glad you share your journey, man. I don't think you realize, I found you by accident. I was like, who is this guy lifting tires? And who is this guy? Didn't even realize we had the same name until months later. I was like, how did that happen? And I didn't know. He didn't even tell me. But AJ's story is so amazing. I went back and looked at every single one of his videos, I think from the accident till you started posting all the way up until now. And I'm like, if he can get up and lift a tire, I can get up and go downstairs and get on this trip. I like to follow people that are going to take me out of that space where it's like, if he's doing it and his situation was 20 times worse than mine, I was like, oh, I'm following him right now. Every time he came in my life, I was like, go follow him right now, because you don't get that voice from a man, especially after an injury. We don't want to deal with nobody but our mom and our significant other when we are down for the count. You know what I'm saying? So for him to show that, I was like, oh, stand all day, period.
Yeah,
absolutely. You give yourself credit, man. You did a fantastic job. You got on that bodybuilding stage. You have done amazing. Do not forget that somebody out there is watching you do what you did, and they're rooting you on, man. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, I know, Andrew. I appreciate you, man.
What bodybuilding stage are you talking about?
I haven't cut out the back. I won. So believe it or not, and I haven't really talked about this yet, but I won a transformation show last summer. I mean, I have talked about that part, but Z talked about you going through some things and it isn't what you thought it would be. And I thought I wanted to follow in the footsteps of the people that had done it before me, and that being in a bodybuilding show and all that stuff. And I was never so lonely in my life. So being honest with you guys, it was a bad week. It was a bad week. So, and plus you're hungry. I'm just throwing it out there. It don't matter how much med you got. You're going on stage hungry, and it's not fun. So
it's extreme, bodybuilding, the shows. I mean, you got to get down to the food tapers off, and then eventually water tapers off. So it's hard when you're getting up on stage.
It was it was almost as mentally as bad as breaking my neck. People I wasn't. I'm probably never going to be ready to do that again. I wasn't ready to do it mentally, because I thought after this, the world's going to open up now for me. Floodgates. everyone's gonna love me and I'm gonna do it, and everything's gonna be perfect. And it's not. You go back to the normal every day to day, and you still have all the stresses. You still have, things go on at home, things go on at work, and it's not what you think it's gonna be. So,
And the lesson there is the goal is not the goal. It's the journey that is the most important part, and learning to be content with who you are today in pursuit of who you want to be tomorrow, because like otherwise you're just pursuing the next thing, and it's never going to fulfill you the way you think that it's going to. At least not in my experience so far. Pursuit of a weight or pursuit of a body fat percentage or whatever, like those feel good. Don't get me wrong. Like it feels awesome. It's great to be able to go shopping and not worry about what size I'm grabbing. Things just fit now, but like in learning to enjoy the journey and be comfortable in your own skin today has been by far the biggest non-scale victory that I've experienced. Is the guy that I see in the mirror, I'm just like, yeah, I like you now. Like, because I didn't used to,
Yeah, that's
And I'm so
powerful.
glad you said that, Jake, about starting with your mind first. I think a lot of people forget that. That's such a big part of this journey, because I've seen people, they've lost the weight and they've been worse off than they ever were, because you're skinny now, but you haven't fixed the trauma that got you there. It's not going to go away when you get on the scale and you're 100 pounds lighter. So the mindset part of it is so huge. And I appreciate you speaking on that, because that is so crucial, because that is the quickest way to get the weight back on. If your mind is not together, if your hormones are not together, your hormones determine your emotions, your gut health. We could talk about this all day, but all of that stuff plays a part. And that's what I want people to understand. It is a lifestyle change, completely full circle 360. It's not just that 32-inch waist. I wish it was, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
So
never that easy.
So I guess my question I have is this: for everybody that's reached some kind of a peak or some kind of goal on this journey, if it didn't feel the way you thought it would feel, what makes it really worthwhile to actually go on the journey if it doesn't end up where you thought it would end up? What makes
Jay,
it worthwhile?
that's a great question, and it's hard for me to answer it to a certain degree, but I think the way that I've framed my mindset, and I've had a good experience, but we've all had ups and downs in our own way along the way. But I kind of frame it in my head as gratitude at every step of the journey is kind of how I think of it. Like I try to practice gratitude at every, like sometimes you have to kick your own butt to remind yourself to practice gratitude at every step of the journey. But that's how I've tried to frame it for myself, and why even when I have had moments where I was struggling or I wasn't hitting a goal when I wanted to hit it, or I was seeing other people doing amazing in comparison, like we all have someone to compare to who's doing better, whatever that means, in our minds. And it's just like jealously fighting to find the thing I'm grateful for at every step of the journey. And that has been what's made it worth it when it wasn't going well, when it was going well, when it was going well, but people were giving me crap about it. When, that's the thing, is just actively practicing gratitude, because it doesn't necessarily come naturally. It's not necessarily going to be around every corner, a moment to be grateful for. It's something you have to commit to, like any other practice, like exercising, like eating well, like taking your damn supplements, whatever it is, like drinking your damn water, whatever it is. Gratitude is actually a practice. And it actually took this journey for me to realize that, and then to be able to apply it to other things. And that is what opened up other doors for me and helped me to get other things in my life done that I wanted to do, I was held back from, that had nothing to do with weight or health. But it was that light bulb moment where it was like, you have to find a way to be grateful for the thing that you can be grateful for no matter what's happening. And sometimes that thing is obvious and in front of your face, and sometimes you're fighting to figure out what the hell it is that you should be grateful for. But when you find it, it gets you to the next step. And that's kind of how I've been able to approach it and find joy in the whole process.
I think that's so important because honestly, in the content creation community, including on this panel, there's a lot of folks that have reached that 32-inch waist, and that's what we talk about. But honestly, that's not going to be the vast majority of people who take these medications. And for a lot of us, and I include myself in that, depending on where you're starting in your journey, the journey is going to be the most important part, and the healing that comes with that, because not everyone responds to these medications in such a way or has a starting point that's going to allow them with this medication to get there. They might have to layer in other medications. That means to layer in bariatric surgery, right? But the idea that these medications are a miracle and we're going to get to 32 it's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people who are watching this right now aren't going to get there, but they need to know that the journey is valuable. I'm not there. You know, I've gotten to a point where it's a lot of the guys on this panel's starting weight, and I am thrilled with where I am because of where I started, right? And it's really important to understand that part about this journey, that if you are on YouTube, if you are on TikTok and you're watching the guys that are here and you're hopping in our comments, please don't think that that we're all a perfect representation of what's going to happen. What's going to happen is your metabolic health is likely to get significantly better. Right. And that's really what you need to be in this for.
I agree.
I think my biggest thing for me was I had to stop. I wanted this weight loss journey to be exactly like the last one. The last time I had dreadlocks, I was outside, I looked amazing. And I was just like, it's not happening fast enough for me. You know, I was mad. I was like, why is this not working? I want my waistline back and I want it back now, you know, and it got real for me just when I was about to get into Wonderland. I had to have a conversation with myself, and I was like, you know, this didn't happen fast enough for me, but I had to make sure I was ready to get into Wonderland too. You know, because whether people talk about that or not, you are treated very differently when you get under 200 pounds. You're treated very differently. People start to pay more attention to you. People start to take a little bit more time with you. People ask your input on different things, you know, and I had to make sure I was doing it for the right reason. I didn't want to do it for, you know, I mean, of course, who doesn't like to look good? Who doesn't like to get to the 32 jeans and all the things? But I had to make sure up here was right, especially with me having the platform now. And that's why I tell so many people, do you see my stomach? Yes, you do. But I'm like, it was a lot that went into that. You know, that wasn't just, oh, here you go. Here's a 6-pack and a V. Absolutely. It looks great. It was a very deep rooted. I had to work on a lot of stuff to get there. And that's not for the people that are going to be all, ooh, ah. I want you to understand that that's what I wanted from me. I feel better when my clothes fit a certain way. I feel better when I don't have to spend 20 minutes in a store looking for jeans that are in the bottom rack because I can't find what I need. That's what I wanted for me. And I tell people, everybody doesn't want that, and that's okay. I don't expect everybody to want to look like me, but I want you to know that if that's something you do strive for, it is possible for you to do it. This medication's not going to do it all for you, but it is possible if you really get into everything and figure out what you want. I tell everybody this all the time. What is your goal with this journey? What are you doing this for? What are you doing this for? I tell people, when you turn off TikTok, you are getting on this scale by yourself. So you have to be content with whatever decision you make. You have to be content with whatever supplement you're spending all that money for. That's up to you. I can recommend you supplements all day, but you have to make sure that your journey is yours and yours alone. I will root you on, but we have to remember what we are doing this for. And are you really willing to get into this thing with both feet outside of any creator that you see? Because I tell people my job is, when you get off of my live, when you come away from me, I want you to be able to be like, you know what? I need to drink that water, because so many people are like, I hear Andrew's voice talking about I need to drink my water. But I didn't even know that was going to be a thing. And you just never know where your voice can take people. So just remember that. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I always ask people. When you're starting this journey, find out, like really dig in, what's your why? Find your why. If it's just WL, if it's just weight loss, that's great, you know, but you have to find what you're doing this for and hold on to that. And it's it's okay for that to shift and change as your journey goes on. But I think it's important to recognize and honor what you're doing this for.
Mhm.
Because it will change. It will change throughout your journey. It has for so
Yes, it
many
will.
of us.
I think that's very important because mine has changed. And when I started, I started because of health reasons. And I was overweight. I was type 2, I was pre-diabetic, but I also had sleep apnea. My triglycerides were off the charts. My cholesterol was high. I had stage 2 hypertension. So when I started, that was my main focus. But as I got further along in the journey, and one thing I want to emphasize is that the journey doesn't end. It transforms. Like when I was a hyper responder, so I set a goal to hit 223, and I hit that in 7 months. And I felt this sense of mourning when I hit goals. Like, okay, what now?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to realize that this is just the beginning, because this part of my life is going to be the hardest part and the longest part, the maintenance phase, trying to figure that out and try to maintain that throughout the rest of my life. But along with that, like I said, I started with health in mind, but as I got further along in the journey, I realized, which I didn't realize at the time, but I realized how much I was hiding when I was in a larger body. I didn't. It was something that was subconscious. It wasn't something I was doing consciously. In my mind, I thought I was still the man. I was a college football star, captain of the football team. I always been a leader. Been a supervisor, manager, lead analyst, senior analyst, and now a director. So I've always had this leadership quality about me, but I was always also hiding. So I wouldn't take pictures. I didn't put myself out there like I would, like I normally would have.
Mm-hmm.
In the director position that I mentioned, I got that in January after putting myself out there, which I wouldn't have done before I started this journey, because I felt I got my confidence back, and I felt that I was me again. I could do the things that I wanted to, and I didn't have to hide any longer. I look back at all the pictures of family, and I'm not in them. My kids, my kids, when they look back at pictures, they may think that I was a ghost because I'm not in any of those pictures, because I'm hiding in the background if I'm in it. The only person that could get me to take a picture was my Aunt Pat, because she makes sure everyone took pictures. But if I could avoid being in the picture, I would avoid being in a picture. And ironically, it was me seeing myself in a picture that started this process for me, because I came back from a cruise, and I took a picture with the family after we got off the cruise, and I looked at this picture. It's like, how did I let this happen after 2 bariatric surgeries? How am I back at this position again? And then I start trying to find other ways to manage that. And luckily, I found out about the GLP-1. But like you said, you can start at one point, which was health for me, and then you learn about other things along the way that can help you unlayer a lot of stuff that's been placed on you for the last 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years.
Dave?
It's a great question, Jay. It really is a great question. I think for me, obviously, it's less about hitting any specific goal, and realizing that for me, the medication was not like a panacea. It wasn't what I hoped or imagined that it would be from a metabolic fix standpoint. It makes it hard to consume content, honestly, because it's like there's so much noise out there about you need to try this or you need to try that, and it's like, that's what I've been doing for 20 years, and the medication doesn't provide me the benefit of just being able to eat whatever I want and lose weight. And so for me, I think what keeps me engaged is the fact that I have created this community. And honestly, it keeps me engaged in my health journey to have a community of people to continue to go back to. And I think the other thing that I've learned, to kind of go back to the first question too, to kind of weave these two thoughts together, is that, I think what I'm learning is how to share when you're struggling, because that's my whole story. My whole story is sort of this story of not being able to figure it out. Right. At least not, I mean, when I say that, what I mean when I say that is like, I can't figure it out without restricting down to like 1,400 calories a day and being in the gym. And it's just, I mean, I guess just not a way that I would be miserable. I feel sick if I don't eat at least 1,800 calories a day, I have a migraine every day. I feel miserable. I just don't feel good. And it kind of goes back to like the keto. Like I get a lot of unsolicited feedback as a content creator, and a lot of that unsolicited feedback, 2Js, a lot of that unsolicited feedback is like, well, you need to just stop doing keto. You need to stop trying that. And I'm like, but I feel good when I don't eat carbs because I'm diabetic. And so it's like, there's just a lot of unsolicited advice. So like just learning that there are other people out here who these medications just aren't it. Like this generation of medication or these specific pathways are not what, sort of is firing that part of my brain. Like if this medication allowed me to eat that, 1,200, 1,400 calories a day, and I would feel good, then I would let it. But it's like these pathways are not it for me. And that's why I get really excited for things like CagriSema and retatrutide and the future of these medications, because they're working on different pathways to help people accomplish what they do. And that's why I'm still very open to the idea of having some sort of bariatric surgery, because right now there's really a lot of hope for people to combine the two when you're talking about, severe metabolic disease. So yeah, long-winded answer of saying it's the community that sort of keeps me engaged and wanting to come back and try new things and stay engaged and stay in the fight.
I don't know if you got a chance to answer Brian's question. The one it was like about how you kind of like fell into this, like what keeps you, what gives you the motivation and strength to share your experiences so openly despite the gender norms that tend to cause men to keep their struggles to themselves?
Yeah. I think kind of what I was trying to say is I'm learning. I don't do good at it. I really am not great. It's not a natural inclination for me. If I was like if I had one of those, these are my pants I used to wear stories, I think it probably would be easier for me, maybe. But like learning to share when you're struggling, I think is just, it's not something that comes naturally to me, but I'm learning that when I do, that's some of the most impactful content that I make. At least from the feedback that I get from people, like you have to keep sharing this part of your journey because and it's like, it just in a sort of content ecosystem like the GLP-1 community it's hard to be that subset of it, because there are so many people that respond so easily. And I don't mean to say like I'm not looking for the medication to be the be all end all, but certainly there are things that are going on. Obesity is a complex disease, and I think a lot of people get locked into this idea that everybody experiences obesity the same way, and then therefore everybody should respond to the treatments the same way, and it's not the case. So I have to latch on to different wins, and I have to latch on to different things to keep me motivated and engaged. And I'm learning how to share despite the fact that the things that I have to share aren't things that I want to share. If that makes sense.
I'm just so proud of you because first off, male is like this much smaller subset. And then the number of men who are slow to non-responders who are willing to put themselves out there. And I know you see yourself as a newsman and you put yourself out there like that, but when you start to tell that story, you're literally one of the only people willing to stick to this and do it. And so I'm just proud of you. I know you take a lot of flack from people who want to help you in their own minds because they think everybody's body operates the same way. It just doesn't. And I'm proud of you for sticking it out and continuing things for the community.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I was kind of going to piggyback off that. Like the vast majority of this journey in general is a struggle. But no, that doesn't get clicks, right? Like everyone wants to see the dramatic change. They want to see the stuff that's attention grabbing because that gets their attention. But the reality is, like, the majority of this journey is a whole lot of struggle, valleys, and losses, highlighted by some peaks. And the fact that, like, you know, in Dave, I've been following you for a while. I've only recently met you, but it's like Mike said, like, I'm proud of you too, because like you're still fighting, like you're still putting yourself out there, and your story is probably one of the realest out of everybody, right? Because you have continued to struggle, but you also haven't quit, and that inspires the hell out of a lot of people, myself included. You know, whenever I hear, like, see people, it's like, hey, I can't give up. Personally, I'm burned out like no other right now on weight loss, on fitness. Like, I'm struggling to even get to the gym or do anything that I know that I'm supposed to be doing, because it's been 2.5 years and I'm not gotten to that, like, golden egg yet. And like, I just need a break. And that's okay too, and that's going to happen. Like, it's going to ebb and flow, but the one thing we can't do is give up, right? Because then that's a guaranteed result too, and that's me going back to the Jake that I swore that I would never see again.
Yep.
You know, and so to see someone, you know, in your situation that has had the struggles and hadn't seen the results that they expected to or wanted to continue to put themselves out there and to continue to fight the good fight for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for all the things, right, that are truly important. Like, that is inspiring for me. So I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, Jay. You're gonna say something?
I was just going to say that Brian gave us the answer earlier to, you know, kind of Dave's situation in general about this class of medication. When he was like, I was on 4 different blood pressure medications. They don't create 4 different blood pressure medications unless every blood pressure medication doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
This class of medication is not any different than any other class of medication. Obesity is not simpler than any other disease, right? Like, every medication does not work for everybody in the same way. But people love a good success story. People love to tune out people that aren't succeeding. And the ridiculousness of that situation is that we need all the stories so we can route medicine in the right direction, so we can route treatment in the right direction. We need every voice telling every piece of this story. And so, like, Dave, you showing up, telling your story when it's difficult, it makes a difference. You know, Charles showing up, telling his story when it's a success makes a difference. Like, this is all important. This is the story of how we finally beat and defeat obesity, by getting options out there, by getting the truth about the necessary lifestyle changes out there, like getting the whole picture out there. Because for far too long, the story of obesity has been boiled down to eat less, move more, and you'll be fixed. And that's not the world we live in. And we have to tell the full story so we can finally fix the full issue. We've got to keep doing it.
Very well said. Two points that I'd like to kind of tag on to that too. One is, like, one of the things that makes it hard to stay engaged on that part of your journey is the fact that, like, people come at you, and it is like it's already a hard enough journey mentally. Mentally, it's just such a challenge, whatever stage you're in, right? Like, Charles is where he wants to be, got there very fast, and then he got a cancer diagnosis. Like, the health journey is just, it doesn't stop. There's no destination to it. It's something that you just grind through, and you're always working through to try to find your best health. One of the things that makes it hard for me is, like, I'm all over all the platforms. I'll literally have people, like, I'll block out voices on this platform, and they will follow me to other platforms and be like, you need to hire a nutritionist and stop eating keto and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what did you, why? Leave me alone. But one of the things that I think also sort of keeps me coming back is this idea that because of the community that we have, I feel so invigorated by people's success stories with these medications. Like, even though it's not my story, I'm so motivated by the opportunity to speak into or the potential opportunity to speak into the people that create the systems and policies that gatekeep access to these medications, because even though they don't work for me, I feel like I'm really a rather small subset of the population that doesn't respond very well to these medications. And because so many do, people getting access to them is something that has become like a fire in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that regardless of what is happening in my own journey, and maybe it's because I still struggle, maybe if I got down in 16 months to where I wanted to be from a weight perspective, maybe I would have checked out. But I think what it does is it gives me empathy for the person watching this type of content for the first time, who's never heard of these medications, whose life is about to be changed, and whose life will not be changed unless we make the content, unless they come across the video or email or what have you. So that is a huge motivator for me as well.
I would say too, just please, and I've had this conversation with Sabrina before as well. Don't forget about yourself when you're doing the work still. And I sometimes struggle with that. You get in the routine of creating the content, and you got to get on live, and you got to do all the things. You got to motivate everybody else. Who's motivating you? Mm-hmm. Don't forget to take that time for yourself. And even if you record it and you don't post it, find an outlet, because I have to say, Sabrina, thank you, because Dave, I did not know you were struggling. I didn't know that was going on with your story. I only see the news. I knew you were on the journey, but I didn't know the nuts and bolts of it for you. So I thank you for sharing that, because more men need to see that, because men will come to me and I'm like, I wasn't there. I can't give you the steps for that, but he can, and I definitely feel like don't think that your voice doesn't matter outside of Dave on the pen, because it does. So, even if you post one video, 2 videos, I've even had moments where I'm like, people aren't going to care about this. And that's the same video that went absolutely crazy. I posted a picture when I came back from my mom getting honored. I said, ain't nobody going to watch that. And people went absolutely bonkers. I think people do want to see more vulnerability from people. People want to see real people on this journey. Please don't forget about yourself. That's an amazing story. And that just opened eyes for me. I had no idea about that, about you outside of the news. And now I'm like, okay, that's who Dave is. Yep. Now I'm with you now. I'm tuned in, because I didn't know, so I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I think the range of experiences is what's going to encourage more men to get on board and to not give up once they do get on board. Just seeing the range of experiences and knowing that anything and everything is possible. You may succeed on your first GLP-1. You may not succeed until your second GLP-1. That'll be me, because I'm not going to get the goal with this one. And you may not even get really going until you're the next generation. There's just a range of out there. But I think the most important part to all of our stories is that it's worth trying. It's worth putting forth the effort. It's worth taking the risk. Even if you don't get where you want to go immediately, or even if you do get there immediately, taking that risk, taking that first step, you deserve that opportunity to at least try.
And it's worth fighting for access, right? Because let's face it, as much as we want to try for these meds, the accessibility is not even. And with everything happening with compound right now, a lot of people don't have access to these meds. And so if you're listening, know that it's worth that fight. That's been, I think, the hardest part of the journey, is the stress of not knowing whether this medication is going to continue or not, right? And that is worth the fight too.
Yeah.
And just to Jay's point, it's like we have to. I lost my thought. It'll come back, I promise.
While you're waiting,
Yeah,
like one of the things that Mike just said to Mike's point, AJ, weren't you just saying earlier that's the whole reason you just got off medication? It just became too much to the excessive.
I even stopped posting. I was like, it was gone. Like, I was just like, I was so frustrated with, you know, the expense of it all, I mean, because I was paying for compound. You guys don't, I haven't shared my wife's journey because my wife is also on a journey also, but as much, but she also, I mean, 2 people on a GLP-1s that neither one of you are covered for. I mean, that's expensive. And I just got to a point where I was like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, I got to figure this out. Like, I literally did a bodybuilding show this week, you know, transformation bodybuilding show that I can figure this out. And then I get off and it brings depression back for me. So,
Yeah.
I did want to say, Dave, I hope you know, like, we resonate with you so much. I think everybody in this room, we're not in your shoes right now, but we've been in your shoes. Like, where keto didn't work, where it was working for this guy, you know, or just the regular in and outs of things, or every single fad diet that we've all tried that worked for this guy and that guy, fasting and you know, all that stuff. So like, we get where you're coming from, because we have been. Just because we succeeded this time doesn't mean we don't know where you're at. So I hope you know, like, man, we're here for you. Like, we are, like, we get it. Like, mentally we get it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, AJ.
yeah, man.
I did get the thought back too. Jay's talking about, like, just talking to that guy that just needs to start. You know, it's like, in my lives, I'm sure you guys experience too. You get the naysayers like, "Oh, aren't you worried about the side effects?" I'm like, well, the other outcomes was me having sleep apnea, which has crazy issues on your body hormonally, and you know, your long-term longevity, whatever. I was morbidly obese. I was pre-diabetic, very rapidly going to diabetic, high cholesterol, high this, high that. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety. I was on everything under the sun. So I know what the end result of that was going to be a short death, right? Like, or a quick coming death. And I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and at the time whenever I started, she was 5. And you know, it was kind of like that moment. One of the biggest wake up calls for me, where I was like, it's time, was the night that I realized that my wife kept making excuses for my daughter of why I couldn't play with her the way that she wanted me to play with her. And I was just like, no, like, this stops, and it stops right now. And not only that, but and to kind of piggyback off that, like, you know, to Jay's question was like, what is your why? It's like, well, number one, like, I know what the long-term outcomes of the health issues I was facing was going to be. 2, I was not even remotely living my life in any kind of meaningful way. Like, I was beating and breathing, but there was no joy, and there was nothing good happening personally. And my life was actually an absolute chaos and falling apart on every level, because I was too tired to lead my family in a way that needed to be led. And then also, like, I started, and I tell my daughter that we don't quit once we start. So it's like, she was like, "Dad, you go to the gym today?" I'm like, "Sure did." Or, "Did you do this day?" I'm like, "Sure did." And I'm like, "You know why?" She's like, "Because we don't quit." And I was like, "That's right." So, like, the level of accountability that I have, like, and I'm sure all the fathers in the room can understand, like, you don't want to let your kids down. And I want to be here for her as well. So it's like, of all the things that put all the pressure on my shoulders, like, that piece is actually probably the biggest motivator and the biggest fire under my butt. Is like, I can't let her see me quit or give up, because I will not set that precedence for her. So
I love that. That's powerful.
It's annoying sometimes, to be honest. there's times that I really, really, really want to quit. And it's like, but I can't. I don't do that. Like, this is what we're doing now, right? Like, this is who Jake is now.
And they watch everything that we do. You know, they act like they don't, but they're watching us.
Yep.
They are watching us.
But, you know, I look at Charles, and I have to say, I'm like, Andrew, we're not 28 years old anymore. You know, we're not outside going to the club till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just doing random things. You know, my grandfather was 110. My mom passed when she was 56 years old of congested heart failure. She went like that. And I just had to say, we have to get this together. You know, a lot of my friends still wanted to be outside. And I'm like, we're turning 40 in 2 years. I'm not doing that. You know, I don't want to look like I'm outside. And I don't want to look like the club. No, that's just not a good look. So, you know, I'm thankful for this medication, because a lot of people were like, "You're 40?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Where?" I'm like, you know, thank you to tirzepatide. We appreciate it, you know, among other things. But, you know, I appreciate Charles posting and just telling his story, because I was like, okay, Okay, we just turned 40. Because, when you're turning 40, you're like, what the heck are we going to do now? And to Jay's point, I think, I didn't want to feel like I felt the first time I lost the weight. I was in a different place. I just lost my mom. I was angry. I was going through all the things. I said, Andrew, I want to be in the best possible shape I possibly can for longevity. I said, we're not just doing this to put on a tank top, shorts, and Jordans and go outside.
Right.
I said, we want to be in the best possible health to, that we can possibly think of. So, men, if you have not gotten your testosterone tested, please do. I got that done in the very beginning. I was like, I want to know what is going on with my body in every possible aspect you could think of. And that took some taken back, because a lot of men don't want to talk about their testosterone, especially to a female NP or a doctor. You don't want to have that conversation. But, I was like, this is what's going on. And she was like, it's a normal thing. It happens when you're getting up in age. And I had to have the up in age talk, so it's a very realistic lifestyle change. And we as men have to not be scared to actually talk about that.
I agree with that.
It brings up an interesting point, because one of the things that I realized or assumed when I realized that there weren't as many male content creators out there is because a lot of it is there aren't a lot of men who prioritize their health in the first place. I avoided medical care at all costs for a very long time, out of fear that I was going to find out that there was something wrong, and then I was going to have to deal with it, out of mistreatment from doctors who focused excessively on obesity as a character flaw, and just basically out of that societal message that, like, you're a man, you're supposed to be strong, and there can't be anything wrong with you. You power through it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I think that was actually one of the reasons why I kind of came to the realization at some point, is that it takes men longer to get, in many cases, to the point of this level of self-care. Where you're finally, something has to happen. There has to be some sort of catalyzing event, oftentimes, that get men to finally take care of themselves and realize that they're just as important as their families or their loved ones or whatever else it is that they're focusing on. And that I had that realization for myself, it was like, wow, I had a doctor tell me, you're going to have a stroke, like, not a question mark, not a, it's going to happen down the road. Like, we can't get your blood pressure under control. You got to that point. Like, you went that far before you actually addressed, like, you were feeling death coming before you dealt with the issue. As much as I struggled with weight, for as long as I struggled with weight and had all the emotional burden of not liking my body and feeling bad about myself, it took a huge catalyzing health event for me to actually take care of myself. And I think that might actually be fairly common experience for a lot of men, that put their health much lower on the list of priorities over a whole bunch of other pressures and priorities in their lives. And I think that is why this conversation is important, because, Andrew, it struck me when you said get your testosterone checked. It made me think, hell, get your blood work done at all. Go make that appointment for your physical that you're supposed to get annually, that your insurance might pay for, that you maybe haven't done in 5 years. Because I know a lot of guys my age, in their mid-40s, who are supposed to be taking care of their health and have things that they should be doing and monitoring, don't go to the doctor at all. Unless something catastrophic happens. And so that's why I think these voices are important, because I think there's a guy out there who's like maybe feeling bad about his weight or feeling concerned about his health, but doesn't even know the baseline situation he's dealing with.
But Brian, I got to tell you that I was like Jake, though, before I started this health journey. There's no way I was going to see a doctor or even be prepared mentally for my body and to get right, or to work on my body, till I got my mind right. I had to start there. I had to go through years of therapy and even therapeutic medication for my mind before I even stepped foot into the doctor's office. So, like, for some of us, that first step is get your mind right and then get your body right. So, whatever order you have to do this in, do it. Get your body, get your mind, or get your mind, get your body. Take the first step you know you need to take. And you know what your first step has to be. You just got to be honest with yourself.
Right.
Just take that moment, pause, breathe, think, and just be honest. If you can't be real with anybody else, you got to be real with yourself when it comes to your life and your health.
Yep.
And you think about the benefits of these medication. I'm just sitting here like, I've never read my insurance plan ever before I came across these medications. Never read it. You know, you get that thick book every year. I never took the time to understand how my insurance worked until I got on this medication.
I didn't know what the hell a PBM was. I didn't know what a formulary was. I didn't know a single thing about any of it.
Medical policy. And then I'm thankful for this community because it took somebody on here saying, this is how you navigate your deductible. If you have a high deductible plan, this is how you do it. A medication that I'm taking now is $3,000. $3,000. That medication alone will satisfy my deductible. I had no idea. She's like, if you do this. So the community has been, when I say the community has come in clutch, I didn't know about a dose change. I didn't know half this stuff. And when I say the OGs have definitely, I don't do too much talking on the OGs now because all OGs aren't equal. But some have dropped amazing gems on this thing. I mean, some have definitely, I didn't even know you could get a 90-day, and a 90-day has saved me in between jobs. So I'm so thankful for this community and just sharing the information, sharing the knowledge. That is so important. It's so important. We have to keep doing this. We have to keep doing this. You know, Sabrina, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing because, you know, AJ did an all-male panel ages ago, you know, so it's not, and I was thinking about it and I was like, you know, we haven't done this in a while. And, you know, it's funny because AJ, you lucky you don't live near me because when you weren't posting, I was about to come looking for you. Like, you okay? You okay?
Yeah. I went looking on his page too. I was like, where's my friend?
I got a ton of messages, guys, and it just didn't matter. Like, that's where I was at. And like, and then I was like, I can't let everybody down, if that makes sense. Like, so, and like, I was like, okay, so I had foot surgery because I had foot surgery and whatever. I'm like, all right, I sat in my chair with my foot up, you know, all bandaged up, watching people's lives. I came through. I didn't say a lot. I was just like, I can't because I feel defeated. I felt defeated. I'd gained weight back, which gaining weight back after you're done taking the medicine is frustrating in its own sense. And I thought this is just another failed diet for me. And if that makes any sense to you guys. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in a better path now, a better way. I learned how to eat on these meds, if that makes any sense to you guys, because I didn't know how to eat before. Like, I was eating, I didn't understand calories and I didn't understand fats and carbs and stuff like that. So I just didn't understand it. And I've come to understand a lot of it, not only from the GLP-1 community, but from just, you know, people on TikTok and Facebook and stuff like that I didn't know before. And plus my nutritionist that I worked with in the beginning helped just a ton, make me understand like, hey, you have this many calories. You can go over sometimes, you just can't go over all the time, you know, like, so, and when you gain back 2 pounds in a day, there's no way you ate 60 or over 6,000 calories. So, you know, like, you know, there's just a lot to it. So, and there's a lot of mind games that you play with yourself. So,
and also too, guys, I have to make sure people understand when you are strength training, it gets even trickier. You know, it gets even trickier because that scale went up to 182 and I was like, I was ready to box. You're like, hold on.
In the air.
I was ready to fight. But I had to say, Andrew, calm down.
Yep.
You're lifting weights.
Yep.
You have a goal here. You
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Mhm.
And then there's a part where I made a post about this too, especially when you approach the maintenance part. You go through that portion where you were kind of getting addicted to seeing the scale go down.
Mhm.
Like when the scale stops going down, what do you do?
Mhm.
You know, when you stop getting that excitement, because I weigh every day. I weigh every single day. It doesn't bother me.
Mhm.
But sometimes it does. And I'm just like, I'm not losing 2-3 pounds a day anymore.
Right.
What are we doing? But I said, Andrew, you feel fantastic. I
Mhm.
said that was the rule. You know, my original number was 185. I said if we feel good, because when you get to a certain size, your energy can dip, your hormones can dip. And I said, I was like, you're not going any lower than this. If your energy starts to be trash, your hormones tank. If your gut, we're not doing it. So I'm like, you feel good. What are you tripping for? So you know, I want to tell a lot of people that is the second you touch those weights, it changes everything. Hang in there. Take your jab like you're supposed to. Understand the nutrition, like AJ was talking about. Understand nutrition for you. Red meat's not going to work for everybody. Chicken's not going to work for everybody. Rice isn't going to work for everybody. That boring diet that personal trainer gave you 2 years ago is not going to work for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to figure out what works for you, and you're golden, man. You're golden.
Yeah.
And AJ, you're the living proof that this is a metabolic disease, right? Because you're literally on stage bodybuilding and doing all of that and decide, okay, I've learned what I need to know. Now that I've learned it, because it's just a diet pill, right? I can live without it. And it turns out it's not that you don't know what to do, it's that your body needs this extra little thing. And so the sense that people have that, you know, I can just take this for a little while. It's like these meds are not what people say they are. They're not these skinny shots, Sabrina. They are shots that are designed to regulate our metabolic health. And when they equalize the playing field for us compared to the skinny people who live in the world. And then when we have this, we can do amazing things.
Right.
But we need that little bit of extra help.
Yeah.
And so a lot of you guys are like, you know, still in first, second year of your guys' journey. And I'm almost in my, August 1st will be my third year anniversary. And so but this whole time I've been following bariatric, I've been following GLP-1s, and I've been following natural weight loss people. And a lot of the bariatric people, I was listening to the podcast for JBY this weekend, and she was saying in between two and three, you start second guessing yourself. And so mentally you're like, oh, is this where and I think that's what I went through is I started second guessing myself. Am I doing the right thing? What and why are my goals what my goals were? Because I thought my goals were this, and this. And I had to, if I wasn't hitting those goals, what was wrong with me? You know, and goals are meant to be missed and goals are meant to be hit. When you hit them, celebrate them. When you miss them, celebrate them anyways, because let's face it, you're farther along than you were before most of the time. So you can miss real hard, let's face it. But you know, I won a transformation show and I should be proud of that. But when I got off stage, all I could think about is my mom wasn't there. You know, and I went through the whole thing of I wish my mom could have been here to watch me do this. Because I spent
You're not gonna get me,
I
AJ,
get so
man.
freaking
No.
emotional. I've spent all my life in a bigger body.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being 21, being 350, and I spent probably 2 weeks under 350 the whole time from that point on. And my mom never seen me this way. So, and I get really sad about that. Andrew, my mom died at 57. So when you said that resonated with me because my grandma died at 57 too. You know, it's just, they never got to see me succeed. So.
Wow.
That was the last thing she saw me do. That was the last thing she saw me do. And she told me she was proud of me. And that's why I keep doing this. I don't want anybody to ever have to bury their parent at 28 years old. That's something I would not wish on anybody. I had to do it by myself. Nobody helped me. And the weight just came back. I didn't care after that. I took a year off, didn't care. I gained back 20, 30 pounds. I didn't care. And my coach at the time, she said, that's why I identify so many people that go through grief when they gain weight, because I'm like, you have to remember that this grief does not define who you are right now. And whoever the person was that you were connected with, I have to keep telling myself that was the last thing she saw me do. And she told me she was proud of me. She didn't think I would do it. She did not think I would do it. And I remember she went to the gym with me and she was trying to get healthy. And the day she passed away, she was making a green juice all by herself. She was making a green juice all by herself. She said, look, I did it. That was the last thing I said to her. So, that's why I connect with so many women and so many parents, because I'm like, you need to be around for your children. Mm-hmm. And you have to prepare your children for something like this. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to have that conversation. I didn't want to have it either. But you have to prepare your kids and get your health in order. So when that time comes, nobody has to go through what I went through, because I don't wish burying your parents over anybody. Mm-hmm. Nope.
No, and I've told this on Dave's show before, is my why was always to get my girls down the aisle. Because I was at a point where I almost didn't walk. So I was like, some other man gonna have to walk my girls down the aisle? Like, I really thought that. And I was like, let's get your shit together. Like, sorry, excuse my language, but like, you got to get your stuff together, man. Like, you got a life to figure out. So,
yeah. Well, you guys are all doing amazing. I mean, everyone that's up here. I mean, you guys, and whatever that looks like, a hyper responder or an average or a slow responder. I mean, everyone is better than they were when they started. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's ultimately what the goal is to improve health. So we are actually down to 1 hour. Did you guys want to continue with the questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
You already got me now. I got my tissues. I'm ready. You already got me. I said, I'm ready for Sabrina just in case. I got my tissues ready to go.
I got a couple minutes. I got just a couple minutes left before I need to go help with a couple things around the house. But
do you have anything that you want to add, Dave? If you've got a,
I mean, everybody. I can identify with just what everybody's saying here. My why is always to be around for my kids. I buried a parent when I was in my 20s also. It's not something that I want my kids to have to do either. I mean, those are all huge motivating factors for me as well.
Yeah. Okay, let me see here. Well, Dave, if you got to just drop off, just let us know, just.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody hanging out. I'm looking forward to catching the last hour when we drop this. But thanks everybody for coming over and sharing your stories and just being vulnerable. I think like what everybody was telling me earlier. I mean, it's the same thing goes for all of you. Sharing your journey is important because it's going to help one more person to get the help that they need. Mm-hmm. And that's if that's all we got out of it was just I was on somebody's podcast and they had like a questionnaire about like what's a home run for you, and some of these podcasts I'm getting on are like outside of the GLP-1 world, and I'm like, honestly, it's if one person hears this and they go get help or they feel empowered to go get help and treatment because for the first time in their life they understand that they're dealing with a disease and not a moral failing. And let's face it, I mean, how many of us bought into that idea that we were just huge moral failures because we just couldn't get it figured out. And that's not like I had a moral failing. It's like I am a moral failure, and you live with that. And if one person can hear this and understand that you have a disease, you have biology that's fighting back against you. It's not that you lack the willpower or the ability. It's that you need help because you have a disease. I think if one person can hear that message and get help, that's a home run. That was my home run. And so that's why we keep doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's why I continue to show up. That's why I continue to try and have these panels and create a space where people can share. So
awesome.
I appreciate you extending that offer to us to share on your platform, Dave.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Just honored to have it. Honored that people want to come here and share. So thank you all, gentlemen. And thank you, Sabrina, for heading it up.
Thank you,
Appreciate it,
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
y'all. See ya.
Okay, so Jay already asked a question, so I'm going to move to Mike. And if we have time, I'm going to go back to Jay's question. So, have you noticed any differences in how your GLP-1 experience has been perceived compared to women you know who are on the same journey? Mike?
But don't throw it to me first because I'm curious of everyone else's answer.
Okay. Jay?
I'll answer Mike's question. I think that because the space that we are in is primarily women of a certain age and certain other things, there's less concern about my personal journey than for whether I'm failing or succeeding. So the content I create, I very seldomly talk about my weight loss. I very seldomly talk about how fast it happened. Like it's just not, and no one ever asks me about that, and because they don't care for the most part, because I'm not a woman in the space where they can compare themselves to, if there were more men in the space, that I would probably get asked more frequently about the pace I lost, how much I've lost, and all that good stuff. Because I lost almost 50 pounds in 2 months, my first 2 months. Like that's wild, But ultimately, people just don't. They aren't that invested in. I find in that part of my journey, like they are in like other people's.
Can I be honest with you, Jay? I'm sorry, Sabrina. The only reason, like, I've never asked you about it because I've been watching you for a long time, bro. Is I feel you're reserved. You personally, and I'm not talking about anybody else. So I could be wrong here about other people. So I'm sorry. And maybe I'm wrong. But me personally, I feel like you're a reserved person, and I feel like you're going to share what you're going to share, and you're going to keep what you're going to keep to yourself. And I would never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. And maybe that's the way they perceive you, like I do. I could be wrong, but
I love that. Hear that perception. I'm an open book. If you ask, I answer.
Yeah,
always. I've shared more of my life than I probably should have shared on these platforms.
Same. I've been saying everything that goes through my head.
Yeah, because I've talked about my other health journeys that intersect with this one, which are filled with stigmas, I've talked about my mental health issues. I've talked about having HIV. I've talked about all these things. So a few numbers, it's numbers, But for me, I just feel like people just aren't invested, I guess.
I feel like, Jay, your content is rarely focused around your loss because you focus on the other aspects of this journey, right? Like because the medicine's going to medicine, right? Like
Mhm.
it's going to do what it's going to do. And I feel like your content is focused around like the metabolic improvements. I feel like a lot of your stuff
And
is focused around that.
that's accurate, I would say. And also, I believe in the lifestyle improvements as well.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in lifestyle change. I don't think it's a dirty word.
No.
I believe in and throwing out the things I'm trying out. When I was walking around for a full month in a weighted vest, for 8 hours a day,
Mhm.
or when I
That was
was,
insane.
slinging and clanging weights, and
Mhm.
or that time that I accidentally gained 7 pounds of muscle over 6 months. Like, like I talk about those things for sure. Yeah.
Why can't I gain 7 pounds of muscle?
I would love
We
for
just
that
gotta
to
send you
happen
the juice,
accidentally.
Sabrina.
Huh?
We gotta send you some juice.
Yeah, seriously.
One thing I'll say, Jay didn't ask this, but I'm going to offer this. One thing that I have always looked to Jay for, and maybe it's in part because of interactions in lives in addition to your content, but one thing that I've always felt that you've contributed that's been unique is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of what you have shared that I've found value in as a guy looking to other guys is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And like getting your head right on this, which I always would find more valuable than hearing what you lost and how fast you lost it and when you lost it and how you felt about losing it. I always found your perspective on mindset and getting your head right to be way more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And probably why I've never asked about the specifics of your journey, because what you offer is already more valuable than that. And I think if I can shift to answering Mike's question in the same breath, is I think that that's been what I have noticed among the male members of the community is there does seem to be less of a focus on, is that guy doing better than me? Or
Mm-hmm.
it's more, what can I learn from this person? What value are they adding? What perspective are they giving me? What inspiration are they giving me? What motivation do I need to derive from this person? And I can look at everybody on this panel and name things that I look to each of you for. And very rarely is it, how many pounds did you lose?
Right.
Or how fast did you lose it?
Right.
It's always these deeper mindset oriented, perspective oriented, disposition oriented things that you all contribute that are more on the side of bigger picture inspiration as a guy looking to other guys than the number on the scale. And that might just be a perspective thing. Is like I think we all have gotten to the point where we realize like our bodies are going to body. Like they just do, they're going to react to the medication how they react. We're going to have our journeys the way we have our journeys. Some folks in this community are losing fast. Some are losing slow. Some are focusing on muscle. Some are focusing on weight. Some are focusing on health, and some are focusing on appearance. And some are focusing on all of it simultaneously at the same time. And we're just deriving the things that we need from each other, I think, as a community. And I think that that's the value I get out of the other male creators, is that there's little nuggets of inspiration that you all bring forward from your own perspectives that check me when I trip. And when there's something that I'm like struggling with, I know that there's someone on here that's going to help me chill myself out because you're going to bring some perspective to it or some experience, and or there's a struggle that you've been through that I've been through, or just a mindset thing. And I think the vulnerability, I'll wrap up because I'm talking a lot. I think the vulnerability is helpful in that sense that if everyone was closed off and just saying, this is how much I've lost this week, end of story, moving forward, that would feel very empty to me and not particularly useful, because what you lost this week doesn't tell me a damn thing about myself.
Right.
And I'm going to root you on, and I'm going to be excited for you when you hit your goals, but I'm going to be excited for you because you're hitting your goals, and because seeing your success is a form of deriving inspiration from others, not because I want to compare myself to you or because I want to check to see if I'm winning this race, because
Right.
it's not a race, right?
Right.
And so I think that's what I get from the male community, and I think the women get this from each other too in their own ways as well. And so I'm not saying that's exclusive to the male community, but as somebody who's looking for people that I identify with that have experiences that are more similar to my own, that's what I get out of this segment of the community.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of wisdom across the internet, right? And like, you look at someone like Charles, who's, where he wants to be. He's met his goals and he's in maintenance, or, AJ, who's lost and then gained and then losing again. I lost, gained, and I'm losing again. And for me, like, I don't ever want to come at someone else with from a place of ego, because there is something that you've done or something that I can learn from to better myself, that is going to be, one more piece of the puzzle that I see success from. Because like we said, no one thing is going to work for everybody, and we're constantly just trying to like make this thing fit together so that we see our own success, right? So when you come at it from a place of like, oh, what that person saw success, what do they know that I don't, or what did they try that I haven't? And I'll try it, and it may or may not work, but and then I just take it and leave it. I'm a data-driven guy. We've talked about this in previous lives, Jay, and me and you and our DEXA scans. Like, I want data-driven goals. Like, that's just my mindset. It's my education. Like, that's the whole nine. Like, I want to know, why is my goal what it is, right? And then where does that come from? Like, is it just some pie in the sky thing that I grabbed out, or is it coming from something real? But AJ is a perfect example for me personally of like someone that I look to since I discovered him. He kind of discovered me, and then I found him back, kind of thing. He popped in my life a while back, but and I was like,
everybody in here I've discovered on their live. I'm dead serious. I'll be in their comments, and that's how I ended up following everybody in here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I appreciate it too, because like honestly, like whenever I see stories like yours, like I don't, and Sabrina's gonna yell at me, and it's fine. I don't feel like my story is as valuable as someone like yours. I know that it is. Stop. No, stop. Stop. But it's like, what your story is out there. It's crazy. Like, and it's crazy inspirational in a lot of ways. But at the same time, like, like I look to your story for inspiration, kind of like we were talking about earlier, like, dude, that dude broke his neck and he was however many 100 pounds. He's lost however many 100 pounds, regained however many 100 pounds, and losing it again. Like, it's like, I can't quit. Like, I can keep going. If he can endure all that, I can go to the gym today. And like, that's kind of for me, like where like some of the value comes in. Like, and people that are maintenance, like, how are you doing that? Because that's a whole different part of the journey I haven't gotten to yet. Like, what does maintenance look like? I was talking to Charles the other day in one of his comments. I was like, is it not weird to like not intentionally be trying to lose weight, and like you're intentionally trying to eat more calories? Like, what kind of mind F is that? Like, to intentionally eat more calories, like we get to do that at some point? That's crazy. What do you mean?
Yeah.
so like,
I think it's, I'm sorry to interrupt, AJ. I just want to send more love to AJ real fast. Like, there's nothing like you lying in bed at 6 a.m. See AJ outside in the car outside of the gym, and you're like, oh, I got to keep pushing. He's pushing. I got to keep pushing.
Wake up.
Like, it's time to go.
Sometimes it's like, come on, man.
I'm just
And
gonna be
it's
honest
not,
here.
and it's not because you're perfect, AJ.
No.
It's because you don't give up. And that's the thing, is it's the sentiment isn't, well, if he can do it, I can do it, because he's worse off in some way than I, whatever. It's not, that's not the sentiment. The sentiment is he shows up for himself even after he falls down. And he shows up for himself again. He musters whatever he needs to do, despite getting knocked down in some pretty big ways. And I think that that's part of the reason why we all kind of feel the same way about you, AJ, is that the fact that you're not perfect, and that you do sometimes stumble, and you do struggle, and you do it openly, and you're not afraid to be honest. And I think the struggle is real because it's real to struggle, right? And like, I think that's the thing that I think people value in you and others, is when people come out and they're open and they're vulnerable, and they're like, yeah, I had bad few months. I struggled. I was in my head. I was feeling depressed, but I like pulled myself back together, and I'm doing what I can to show back up for myself. I think that's with everybody here. I think that's where people derive a lot of value.
It's very human, right? We all fail. We all fail. But you have like he said, like you just don't give up. You've got that grit to keep going, and that's inspiring,
Well, nobody else is gonna pick you up.
right?
I mean, people can inspire you. That's true.
No, but no one's coming
People
to
can
say,
tell you that, hey, you need to do better. People can tell you everything they want, but if you don't want to, if you're not, you got to pick yourself up sometimes.
Yeah.
You just got to be like, hey,
right?
it's time to go, and whatever that is for you. I mean, yeah, I go to the gym, but maybe walking is your get up and go, or maybe your meal prep is better this week than it was before. It doesn't have to be this big huge aha moment. It could be the little stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's more power in the little stuff than the big stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like not self-sabotaging.
Because it's sustainable.
Yes.
Right? It's some big, huge, grand gesture you're going to do for a couple of weeks, right? But when it's the small little changes that add up.
When I asked this question, it was sort of in my head that I wanted to hear what the straight guys said on the panel, because I think as a stereotype, the outside world sees the queer community as people who are going to be more willing to be vulnerable in this space. And I'm so impressed by the straight men who are willing to do that, because other straight men I know are looking and saying, you've chosen something to cheat and to do weakness. And I don't know if there's less of that in our community, but I think other people assume that we're going to be willing to be vulnerable. And so I'm just curious, what makes you willing to sort of buck that stereotype of straight maleness and be out there and be able to put your vulnerability out there?
For me, I mean, number one, I don't view it as cheating. If I had a hatchet or a chainsaw to cut down a tree, which one is the better choice? Right? Like, I'm going to use the chainsaw because I don't want to sit there and whack that stupid log for hours on end and achieve the same results in 30 seconds. Right? So there's something to be said for using your tools that are available to you that are appropriate. And two, I've gotten to a place, y'all, where I just don't give a crap what other people think. And there is so much power in that. Like, there is no greater weight that I have lost than the worry of the opinion of others. Like, losing that has probably been the most powerful thing out of this entire journey for me. Is like, I just don't care anymore. Like, I'm gonna take care of me. I'm gonna take care of my family and take care of my faith. Like, and anything outside of that, anything that's outside of that circle of control or influence, like, it just doesn't matter. And I don't know, man. Like, I just the idea that I'm cheating somehow is like, well, you still have to put the work in. And I see there's a lot of people that dip out of my lives whenever I start prepping them mentally for what they're about to have to do, because you can't just take this shot. I guess you could, but there's better ways to do it. You got to take this shot, and it's going to show you how to have a proper relationship with food, and it's going to fix all kinds of internal metabolic stuff and this, that, and the other. But that doesn't change the fact that I've been to the gym 4 times a week for 2.5 years. And I have watched what I've eaten every day for 2.5 years, and I have taken my supplements, probably not as well as I should, but for 2.5 years, and like in the grind, doing the things that I'm supposed to do day in and day out. And I'm not perfect all the time. There's times that I miss. I'm screwing up right now. I'm in a bit of a rut. It's like I'm struggling right now. And when the mind, gets the mind right and the ass will follow. Well, right now my mind's not great, and I'm having a hard time doing the things I need to do. But at the same time, like, you show up and you do what you can. I would far rather anybody that is doing this be 80% compliant for 2.5 years or 3 years or 4 years than 100% compliant for 6 weeks. Like we talk about the keto or carnivore or whatever the crash diet is. Like, yeah, you might lose 20 pounds in that 2 months or whatever, but you're gaining it all back and then some, probably, because you're not addressing the long-term habits. And I just feel like that's the part of this journey that is really profound for me. And like, whenever I talk to guys that do feel like a certain kind of way about how I'm doing what I'm doing, like, why? Number one, why is it your business? And two, you're in my life, so you might be a little interested in what I'm doing that's successful, right? Like, and maybe if you would drop the ego and drop the old school mindsets and listen, you might learn something that might help you get started and see some success in your life too. And not that I'm doing everything perfect, because I'm absolutely not, but at the same time, like, you got to be open to learn from others. And until you get to that mindset, I feel like you're probably going to struggle a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
But Jake, don't you think that it's interesting that people, so many guys think that you have to show up for yourself 100% of the time, all the time, or you didn't show up. And I think that's interesting, but I also think it's insane, because at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yep.
And being human doesn't mean being perfect.
Right.
But
'Cause I
showing up for
even have to-
yourself. I love those percentages you threw out. That amount that makes all the difference in the world.
Because I think even as a guy, I think we have to remember it's okay to take a break. You know, I struggle with taking a break. I hate rest days. I hate them with a passion. I still struggle with this because I feel like I'm not doing anything. And, you know, there's still that little tiny whisper where it's like, you about to gain back 100 pounds if you don't get upstairs and get in this gym and you take a day off. But I said, Andrew, you just turned 40. We're not working out every single solitary day for 2 hours until we pass out. We're not doing that anymore. And this journey was so different for me because it was about longevity. It was about what can we be sustainable. I've done the bars, the slim fast, the shakes. I know everybody's seen those people on the lives. If you dial this number, I'll send you this powder to your house for $25. And it just no. And I think so many people are like, he's dead serious. Yes, don't you dare buy that GLP-1 support powder. Don't you dare buy that support powder. They're like, but what's in it? Ginger. That's it.
Right.
That's it. But I said, you have to remember that these companies know that we are not buying the junk food anymore. They know that we're not eating that stuff. That's why they're putting GLP-1 support on the label. It's something, man. It's something.
Same with coaching, right? Like you see the GLP-1 coaches that are live right now, and I'm just like, oh gosh, bro, you were just a regular weight loss coach 2 years ago. What happened? Like, obviously you failed at that. So now we're going to be a GLP-1 coach. You were talking crap about us 2 years ago, but now you want to be on the bandwagon, huh?
Yeah. They're just jumping on the money train, right?
Yep. That's it.
But that's the thing.
My system froze up there. I wanted to jump in on Mike's question there.
Yeah.
I think Jake summarized it real well. I just don't care right now. I'm at a point where I don't care. I've done, you can call it cheating, and I'm not someone that dealt with obesity my entire life. It's something that came to me later in life as an adult, probably when I was late 20s. After building, having an athletic career and staying fit for my whole life. So it was a shock dealing with obesity. I didn't know how to navigate this thing. My body was destroyed from football, so I couldn't get the activity that I wanted. I tried 2 bariatric surgeries. I went to the gym. I knew how to work out because I did it my whole life, lifting weights and all of that, and nothing helped. Bariatric surgery helped a little bit, gastric sleeve, but it never really got me out of being overweight. It got me out of obesity for a while until COVID hit. But I think, it's just a tool in the toolbox for me. It's no different than, to me, it's no different than some gym bro taking creatine and protein supplements all the time in the gym. But same thing I'm doing. I'm just taking something.
Or a little something else.
Yep. That part.
Something else.
Yeah, that part.
It's something to regulate a dysregulation in my body that I can't do on my own through diet or weightlifting or anything of that nature. So that regulation, having that regulation in my body allows me to pull off the pounds and change my health outcomes and extend my life. So I can care less what someone else to say about it. And no one has said anything to me about it so far yet. No one, I haven't gotten any hate, any negative comments or anything like that. I'll address it when it comes, but I feel, and I haven't seen a lot of guys getting a lot of hate, but I do see a lot of women, even though it's more acceptable for women to be on this journey. I see a lot of women getting so much hate for being on this medication, and hats off to them, because the way that some of them handle it, I wouldn't want to be that guy that made the comment. Yeah.
It gets a little dicey.
It's such a lose-lose situation too, because they hate us when we're big and they hate us when we lose. Like, which one do you want? You want me to be fat, or do you want me to be skinny? Like, pick one, or go away. One or the other.
They want you to be skinny on their terms.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Can I ask a follow-on question to Mike's that is in, like, I'm looking for a step deeper on kind of where we've gone with Mike's question, which is, what are folks' thoughts on what it is like to be a male content creator, or even just a male navigating your own social circles who know you're on this journey, in terms of acknowledging your relationship with how you feel about your body. Because I found that a lot of male creators, in contrast to female content creators talking about GLP-1s, focus a lot on the health side of it, focus a lot on the fitness side of it, focus a lot on the longevity side of it, but often don't talk as candidly about feeling bad about how they looked or look, feeling bad about their relationship with their body in terms of how they feel about their physical appearance and how that impacts their self-esteem and their relationships and how they navigate their life. Because I do feel like that was one area that even I struggle with and kind of took a pause in content creation for a while, because I was focused on things that felt very clinical to me at first. Like, let's talk about how the medicine works. Let's talk about how to manage protein. Let's talk about, let's talk about my weight loss results. Let's talk about that stuff. And I found after a while, it felt like there was an elephant in the room that I wasn't talking about, which was like my actual like emotional connection to how I was feeling poorly about myself physically, how that impacted my sort of mental picture of myself, the relationship with the reflection in the mirror. Charles talked about it briefly in hiding in pictures or not showing up in pictures. Like it manifests that way, but I feel like male creators pause before talking as candidly about that. And I think that sometimes I feel like that's a little bit the gender role stuff coming in, right? Where it's like guys aren't supposed to acknowledge insecurities. Guys aren't supposed to care about how their bodies look. The women talk about it very freely and are very open about it. So I'm just curious about people's thoughts on that part of it, because I think that's the harder part for a lot of guys to speak openly about.
I can jump in on that one. I wasn't going to show that before picture that you see everywhere right now. I wasn't going to do it. And, I was like, I didn't like how my chest looked. My stomach was hanging over my jeans. I was like, Andrew, are you really about to post this? Because I was just like, I hated how my body looked. Could not stand it. Couldn't wear a tank top. My chest was flat. I could not stand how my body looked. I said, am I about to show this to people? Like, am I really about to do this? But then I'm like, it's not about, anybody judging me, because I didn't care. It was just more so, can I be at peace? Like we've talked about, Sabrina, with those old photos. I said, can I let him go? Can I let him go and be like, okay, we were there. That's where we were. That's not where we are anymore. And that's not who defines taking this journey right now. I said, that old picture does not define anything that I'm about to do right now, taking this jab weekly. And I think once I did that, I was talking about that in a live before. I was like, I'm sorry, in my opinion, the number one thing for a man is his chest. If his chest isn't looking how he wants it to look, it's a whole different situation. For me, I was like, I don't want to pinch nothing. That's me. But it's just, a guy wants to feel good in a tank top. A guy wants to feel good in shorts. A guy wants to feel good in a suit. That was a huge thing for me. If my suit wasn't fitting right, I'm not happy at all. I couldn't fit any of my old suits, nothing like that. My chest was all over the place. So I think once I got over letting that other person go and allowing my new journey to take full place and allowing myself to live and walk in that, I was fine. It didn't bother me anymore.
I mean, I would certainly say that the body dysmorphia is real for sure. Like, I'm 2.5 years into this thing, and I still, y'all, if someone would have spoke to me like I spoke to myself, I'd be in jail. I'd be in jail. Like, I'd have been throwing hands left and right. There's no way I would have allowed someone to speak to me that disrespectfully. And it took a long time. I mean, it's really 3 years at this point, because 6 months plus of at least that time around of therapy and counseling and just trying to change my mindset. And as much as I hate positive affirmations, they work. Like there's like when my when my counselor first started me on this, like every day she would make me like literally look at myself in the mirror. It's the most awkward, corny thing in the world, but it freaking works. So but there's one day I was just feeling low and I was like, oh, it's time to do my stupid thing. And I look at myself, I'm in my truck, I look in the rearview mirror and I'm like, you got a pretty nice shaped head. Like if you're gonna be bald, you can at least have a nice shaped head. Like it's pretty eggy, like not bad, right? Like that's all I could come up with that day, right? And there's other times like I'd catch a reflection of myself in the mirror and be like, and almost jump, like, who is that guy? Because that's not me. Like I'm a fat kid, right? And even now, like I'll be in the gym or whatever and catch a reflection while I'm lifting, and like it does not register that is me. Right. Like I do not recognize my own reflection very often. In again, 2.5 years in, like I do, like I know I can objectively look at myself now and be like, yeah, dude, you're in a much better place. But whenever I start feeling low or, kind of down on myself, like it's a constant battle to keep those self-deprecating, negative self-talk at bay. Like I fight that demon a lot. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Once you arrive, it's not like I have arrived and it's just perfect, right? There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, because I very much like everything that you're saying right now. Yes, when I catch a glance, I'm like, who is it? That's not me, know? And then there are days where I struggle. When I look in the mirror, I struggle to come up with even one thing that I like about myself. But then there's other days when I'm like, you're doing good, kid, so it ebbs and flows, it's not like once you get there, you're like, yes, I'm here. And it's just, you're there. Like I come back out under that line all the time, all the time.
Well, and like for my personal timeline, it's 16 to 18 years of not loving myself, right? Because it was right around 18 to 20, I started putting on weight after my second knee surgery, and then that just spiraled into a whole world of mental issues and self isolation and coping with food and all the things. And so it takes a long time to undo. Like just like I didn't get big overnight, it takes a long time to unwind all the nonsense that I have in my head about myself. And having a good support system like this community and people that you trust and love and that love you for you is definitely a positive thing to have that can help lift you up when you're down. Like AJ said, though, like it's still on me to get back up. And but as far as talking about my body, like I really don't mind putting myself out there. Like I used to feel shame whenever I saw those old photos of me, and like kind of like Charles talking about, like seeing me in an old family photo was like spotting Bigfoot. Right. Like unless it was like family forcing me to stand in the pose, like behind the couch or whatever in our living room to like take the family photo on the holiday, you couldn't find me. And I was actually going back not too long ago to try to find like old photos. I was like, there aren't that many. And it's like, how much does that suck to like not have memories of things I did with my family because I was so ashamed of how I looked, and now, sometimes you got to get the camera away from me. So, you get some confidence back, kind of swings the other way. You gotta stay humble sometimes, but it's constant battle for sure. For me on the mental health side of just accepting like who I am now and not letting this negative self-talk and deprecation like creep back in whenever I'm starting to feel low again.
Yeah. I feel like I have the opposite.
Go ahead, Mike.
I feel like I have the opposite experience in some ways. I recognize me now. And when I look at the photos of me in the past, I don't recognize that person. And I've had a hard time forgiving that person. I mean, that person was super successful in almost everything in life, but not weight loss. And he got really depressed as a result of not being able to achieve in this one aspect because it was a moral failing. And I think for me, it's actually hardest, Brian, to sometimes post the before photos because I don't recognize that person. I've told this story before, but my husband and I got in a fight because he didn't see me that way either. And when I started posting before photos, he literally said to me, "Why are you posting the worst photos that you have?" And I said, "Well, send me better ones." And he kept going into his phone and realized that was the exact same They were the exact same photos. Like neither one of us saw me that way. And it's been a different coming to terms that it's sort of forcing. When I share the before photos, it's part of me forcing myself to accept A, that's who I was, and B, to forgive that person. Because that's the person that decided to go on this journey and get here.
Yep.
I think
to Brian's question, honestly, I was delusional when I was in a bigger body. Even though I was 358 pounds and wearing size 4X, 5X t-shirts and 46 size pants, I still saw myself as, that 250-pound ripped football player, even though I looked at myself in the mirror and it never connected to me. I know subconsciously I wasn't that guy anymore. That's the reason why I was hiding in those pictures. But I deluded myself into thinking I was still that guy. Like Mike said, I set out and I accomplished everything in my life that I set out to do. If I put my mind to it, I was going to do it. If you told me I couldn't do it, I was going to prove you wrong. But losing that weight was one thing that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
So I think I just built up this facade that I was still that 250-pound ripped football player from back in the late 90s, even though nothing could be further from the truth. And I finally got to a point now where I'm comfortable in my skin now. I look in the mirror and I see what I want to see, and I feel how I want to feel. My body feels great, and it's a complete, losing all that weight. It unraveled a lot of stuff that I was hiding from not just myself, but from everyone else. And I realize that now because I have gone through that part of the journey, and now being on this phase of the journey, I can look back and see how much I was really, really, really hiding and being delusional. I guess in some ways that was great because I would still operate in a certain way, but in many ways I was not being honest with myself.
And for me, I gotta say that I don't want sympathy or anything like that with what I'm about to say, but as someone that's always been in a larger body and I've dealt with lifetime obesity, Brian, the reality of the situation is I don't really talk or think or care about my body in that regard. I have never in my life looked at my body and been like, I'm proud of this, or I feel comfortable in this body. And I don't expect to end this journey at that point either. So, like coming to terms with that level of comfort or trying to be more comfortable in my body, I don't expect that as the end result of this. And so ultimately, it's just my body is my body. It is what it is. And so, like the physical attractiveness of it or anything like that, it's just not something that it's in consideration as a thought process because I've dealt with lifelong obesity. And my body has not ever been the acceptable body type, right?
Jay, may I ask why you think that you're not going to end your journey there?
Because it's not an experience that I've had before, right? And so, like my mind, I'm 40 years into this body, and I've never had a positive feeling towards the physical appearance of it, right? Like this is the goal, or this is an embodiment of something I think is attractive. So, like thinking that I'll suddenly have that experience, it's not something where I'm aiming towards or thinking towards. It's just not.
Do you think
you're
you
saying
deserve
if
to
you
get
haven't-
there? Do you think you deserve that for yourself, Jay?
It's not a matter of deserving. It's a matter of what reality is. It's not whether I think I deserve it or I think everyone deserves to be comfortable and all of that. But will everyone in their lifetime reach that point? The reality is probably not. And so I have to be okay with that not being a part of my journey. If it comes, great. But it's not something I'm counting on.
But I would
Sounds
say
like it sounds like you're more of a
hold on to that,
mindset of
though.
yeah.
Hold on to that part, because there's nothing out there that's saying that you can't have that. I've gotten my body to this 3 times. 3 times. And every time I've done it, everybody told me I wasn't going to be able to do it. Every single time somebody said, there's no way you're going to get down. Sean T was my, he was my vision. I was like, I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And he said one thing, I'll never forget it. He said, your abs are in there. He's like, you may not be able to see them right now, but they're in there. And I never forgot that all these years. So that may not be your goal for you, but hold on to that if it happens, because you just never know. And I think the GLP-1 piece being in the picture now is the difference from all of those years ago. You didn't have this.
Retta's coming, baby. So
Retta's coming. You just met the possibilities. And I tell everybody this all the time. This is not the 90s with the bars, the shakes, and all this stuff. The possibilities are endless now. Because you know that it works. You know that it works. You just got to figure out what works for you.
I'm going to validate what Jay's saying, though, because I relate to it as somebody who is 1.5 pounds away from my goal weight. Goal weight does not equal goal body. I'm somebody who's been genetically predisposed to obesity. And granted, my high weight is not as high as other people's high weights are. And my goal weight isn't as low as some people's goal weights are. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, but I'm genetically predisposed to have a certain type of body. And I am also I am dispositionally predisposed to being really good at hiding the parts of my body that I don't like and don't want other people to see, because I'm genetically predisposed to having a certain body type. I am all love handles and man boobs, my friends. And that's not going away when I hit a certain goal, because that will require scalpels and anesthesia. And that's a life choice I would have to make for myself to achieve a goal body as I would envision I would want my body to be if I were to compare it to bodies that I would prefer to have for myself. So I think I want to validate what Jay's saying, because there are some, as much as there are lots of possibilities out there and lots of things people can do to achieve a vision of a body that they feel is going to give them more confidence than what they maybe can naturally achieve. For some people, the lengths they have to go to achieve that is further and more drastic than some people can do with exercise. I mean, we all know that's true as people who are on a GLP-1, that not everybody is created equal and not every outcome is going to be the same. And so I'm the type of person who is probably never going to be 100% at peace with the way that my body looks at the end of this GLP-1 journey, because there are battle scars from having lived in an obese body that inherited the genetics that my lovely parents bestowed upon me from generations, that just sets me up with a certain body type that's just not going to be ideal to me in my mind. And so the mental work in terms of developing that practice of gratitude that I was talking about earlier, for getting as far as I can possibly get, will be where I will have to settle and build a more positive relationship with my body image. Is going to have to be more mental work, because the physical work's just not going to get me there. That's not in the cards for me. And so I just want to validate what Jay is saying, because I relate to it on that level, is that sometimes it can be hard to see and hear other people who are getting close to that physical outcome that for them is gives them a sense of solace that they've achieved a body that is closer to ideal for them. It's further off for some people. It's not achievable for some people. And so I do think that's important for people to know, is that goal weight doesn't always equal goal body. And sometimes goal body is a vision of yourself that is actually something your body's not capable of without dramatic intervention. And so you got to hang your hat on the things that you can achieve, and figure out a way to get as close to peace with the physical outcome that you're going to be able to achieve as is possible. And that can be tough. That can be a tough reality. And that's why I've shifted into talking about that more, the relationship with the body image stuff. And that's why I'm trying to move my content more in that direction, because it's something that I'm dealing with and grappling with. And I imagine, based on what Jay's saying, there's other people that are in the same space and sometimes bite their tongue when others are really focused on achieving a peak physical performance for themselves and a peak physical outcome, knowing that that's just something that you don't think you'll actually be able to achieve. And so it's, it's part of the mental work that goes along with it.
you know, one of the things I've had to sort of come to accept being on the back half of life, like I've always hated having thunder thighs, and a good chunk of that is frankly muscle, like a lot of muscle. And when I try to fit in pants that I want to be able to fit in, even at my skinniest, I have really big thighs. I'm on the back end of life. Like I need to maintain that muscle. As much as I would love to lose that muscle, I'm not going into my 60s and 70s losing muscle, right? And so part of me is also accepting what's reasonable for my body at this point, which is not always easy.
In what version of reality is losing muscle even a thing? Like intentionally losing muscle as we're getting older? What? You know?
They talked about that in the DEXA scan. They were like, you know, if you wanted to lose some muscle, you'd be able to achieve that body. And I was like, no, I don't need that body. I thought I wanted it. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Charles, did you have a response for Jay?
I was just trying to clarify his point of view. It sounded like because he's lived in his body his entire life, he has no frame of reference to envision an ideal body type to deal with. But if it gets there, he gets there, and I guess I can understand that, because that it goes along with representation within the community. I know coming into the community, I didn't see anyone that looked like me over on YouTube coming into this community, so I had no frame of reference, and I get comments from Black men all the time saying, thank you for putting a face on it. So I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Brian, I wanted to piggyback off what you said. I agree 100% with everything you just said, but the toxic side of me is like, tell me I can't do something one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part.
Say it again.
Absolutely.
I'll eat that in the gym.
Right. Watch me. Yeah.
As I'm charging up, like.
Absolutely.
So I do have something of kind of reference to this a little bit, in the sense of I've been working out at the gym with a person who's in a bigger body, who's in the very first stages of starting where I was at, maybe even bigger than I was at. And I said, I don't know why I asked him, but I always ask stupid questions like, what's your goal? And he was like, oh, I think I'd like to get to like 350. And I was like, nah, man, that ain't good enough goal. But in his head, if he got to 350, he's gonna be happy with 350.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, like, he could, if he thought, hey, 200 was the goal, then maybe he could get to 200. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like my trainer, like when I first started working with him, it's an 8-week program. And like, don't get me wrong, I hate 8-week programs, but literally I've been there for the last 2 years. I think it's a crutch. He's like, oh, it's going to be 8 weeks and you'll be great. And then next thing you know, you're 2 years in, by the way. Anyways, so, right. So, but he's like, I'm going to give you a goal for these first 8 weeks. And I'm a big guy. He says, I'm going to give you, it's 100 pounds. And I'm like, bro, I don't know if you know this, but I am 442 pounds at this point. I can barely walk. And 100 pounds is some astronomical number that I can never hit. But about week 5, week 6, week 7, I'm like, could I hit 100 pounds? So I went for as hard as I could in that time. Like, I really did. So my first 8 weeks, don't get me wrong, 6 weeks was with MJ, 2 weeks without. I lost 72 pounds. But would I have hit that 72 pounds if he didn't put that 100-pound mark out there for me? Yeah. I would never know. You know, like I probably wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have thought like, hey, this is possible. I'm like, because I was losing at a certain rate. So like, I think like, don't scare yourself into thinking the goal is not achievable.
Right.
If that makes sense. And Jay, I get it, man. I've failed. This is the 5th time I've lost over 100 pounds. I get it, man. I've failed so many times. I've been in the gym since 2010. It literally, like, I remember my first weight loss journey was 2010.
Yep.
I mean, it's 2025. Guys, I'm tired. The gym, I've been in the gym a long time, and it's just like,
it's exhausting.
I get it, man.
Yeah. It is exhausting.
You
Yeah,
get to choose. Go. Sorry, you get to choose your chains, right? You can have the chains holding you down, the ones that say all the reasons why you can't, or you can choose the chains that you're climbing up for all the reasons why you can. And it was that flipping mindset for me personally. Like once I flipped from making excuses of why I couldn't, because I was afraid to be blunt. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of. I was sometimes afraid of success and what that would actually look like. Because now I'm accountable to that, right? But choosing what you is going to hold you back is a powerful thing, and understanding too that you have control of that in a lot of ways. Like there are some genetic maybe barriers or whatever. Like I probably am never going to look like Jack Reacher or whoever, right? Like I would love to, but like that may not be achievable for me, but that's not going to stop me from not trying. You know what I'm saying? Like go for it.
I guess my question is, why put weight on myself for something that I have never felt before? Why strive for something that may not bring me joy?
That makes sense.
Like
Do you mean weight or pressure?
Pressure, right?
Pressure builds diamonds, baby.
And I think I try
but
to
pressure
tell people-
also crushes steel with just the right amount of pressure,
Sure.
right?
because I get what you're saying, Jay. It's not to invalidate you at all. I completely understand where you're at, but I think that's the interesting part. You've never felt like that before. What if you could? What is on the other side of that you've never seen before? Because like for me, I refuse to settle for anything. Absolutely not. You're not going to tell me I can't lose this weight. Now, for me, I didn't think 100 pounds was in the cards for me at all. I was like 185. I'm stopping at 185. I'm done. But I was like, Andrew, we feel pretty good. We want our skin to snatch back. We look pretty good. Let's keep figuring this out. But you have to have that. What do you want for? And I think that's the big thing is, what do you want your body to look like? Yes, there will be metabolic things that are going to, hinder whatever the case is. But you don't know what your body's going to do until you try it. You have no idea what your body's going to do. If you would have told me my stomach would look like that, I would have told you, huh? What are you talking about? Sean T did a DEXA scan. I'm the same exact size as him. I almost passed out. I was like, oh my God, I'm the same size as Sean T. But, you have to figure out, I never in a million years thought that would be possible for me. Ever.
Speaking of, we need that ab routine, sir.
I got to so are you
got that ab routine.
And I've been on that floor in tears.
Yeah.
Many a times. That's why I show the meditation. That's why I show that stuff. Because I think I had to remind myself when I show my before and after picture of my live, I have to kind of take a caveat and say, please do not think this medication is going to do all of this. It is not. It's so much more intrusive than you think. I close that gym door every time I go in there. I've been on that floor crying. I've been on that floor in pain. I've been not been able to barely get up after leg day abs and tap dancing with Sean T for 45 minutes to an hour. Do you understand what I'm saying? AJ knows what I'm talking about. You understand? If you're in the gym, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you can barely walk down steps.
You ain't lying. Can't even go to the bathroom. Sit down to go to the bathroom. I have 2 days after leg day. Forget it.
It's just, but I had tunnel vision for this thing. And I have to remember that everybody wasn't fortunate enough to see what their body's going to look like I did. So I knew exactly what my body was going to look like when I got to 185 and 182 and 179, but I just want you to understand and not settle for anything, because your body is such an amazing thing. And this medication is the game changer, you guys. We've never had this. We've never had any type of control over our appetite and over our mind like we have now when it comes to food, how we relate to food, the emotional connection to food. We've never had this amount of control before, ever.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't realize the time. We have, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, there was one question so can we just do it really, really quick?
Let's do it. I'm good.
Yeah, just real quick. Just
lightning round.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's go.
So finish this sentence for me. We're gonna go Andrew like that, okay? For me, strength looks like
Oh my gosh. Strength to me looks like being, I guess you can say, being happy with myself, being comfortable with where I'm at. I'm 40 years old. I'm in better health than I've ever been at, probably in my entire life, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it to be around for a little while. I'm doing it for me. And it looks like me taking better care of myself. That's the strength part for me. I can wear anything, but the strength part is like, wow, you did this for you this time. You didn't stop for anybody. You didn't stop to date. You didn't stop to do anything else. You did it for you. And it feels good, man. It feels good.
I love it. Brian?
Well, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Strength looks like gratitude for me. I derive strength from feeling grateful for all the steps along the way and not focusing just down the line to the end of the tunnel, but appreciating the bricks that make the tunnel, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. Mike? Oh, you're in mute, honey.
Strength for me looks like humility, the humility to understand that you're starting a journey, that your journey's not going to be like everyone else's, that not everyone's going to hit the same end goal. Not everyone's going to want the same end goal. Everybody's going to be different. Having the humility to understand that every day, to wake up and still keep going at the journey to see where it's going to take you and your body with your genetics.
Love it. AJ?
Well, strength means, a guy in the gym all the time. No, I'm just playing. Strength is keeping my emotions in check to the point to where I realize that my health shouldn't be peaks and valleys on my emotions, peaks and valleys.
Strength to me it's been something different at each stage of this journey, but for me, it's getting back up and continuing. Like right now, I'm battling wanting to stop and take a break, but I know that you got to keep moving forward on this one. And I can back off and let off the gas, but the car can't stop. And so for me, it's just a matter of maybe reevaluating what my current why is, because that has shifted many, many times. Everything from a revenge body to God told me to do it to, like this is just what I do now. There's a whole plethora of things. So, but just having the strength is the discipline and the consistency to keep going, because I have not even come close to what I want to be yet. Still building.
Love it. Charles?
For me, strength looks like me showing up for myself every day, living life to the fullest, maintaining my health, and taking each valley and turning every stepping stone, every stumbling block into a stepping stone, so I get back up to that peak.
Nice.
I love it. Jay?
Strength is being present. And by being present, I mean being there every single day, making the choices that you have to make, the hard ones, the easy ones. It's about choosing to make the first step for your health. It's about making that decision to eat the right thing. It's about making that decision to wake up at 6 a.m. and hit the gym. It's about just making sure that you're there every single day.
I love it. Well, we're at 3 hours, so did you guys want to do your closing thoughts really quick, or you guys got to shut it down?
I'm all right to keep going.
Are you guys okay just to quickly do your closing thoughts? Okay, so this is your opportunity to, what is your message to the GLP-1 community? What is your message to any future viewers? What would you like them to know about you? Oh, and don't forget to tell them where to find you again.
Am I going first? I can go first. I don't care. I would say my message is don't count out the men. Don't count out the men when it comes to weight loss. whether they're on the fitness side, whether they're not on the fitness side, whether they're just starting, whether they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, don't count them out. Their voice matters. And I think we have to remember that, is because, you know, like we said, we rarely want to talk about our weight with it. We don't want to share that. So, you know, don't count them out. If you see them starting a weight loss journey, celebrate them. If your spouse is starting a weight loss journey, I would say take it with them. Don't try to, because I see a lot of women and their spouses are starting the weight loss journey, and a lot of them try to guide them their way like they did it. And I think we have to remember that their journey is separate than they're just starting. I think, Mike, you said your partner's just starting as well, you know, and I think we just have to remember that their journey is completely different, and we can't overpower that, you know. So the men matter, and I think we just have to remember to don't count the men out. Don't count the men out, and, you know, just listen to them. Sometimes we just need you to listen.
Yeah.
Just need you to listen.
I would say my closing thought is to anybody, men, women, anybody in between, your journey is your own. It's going to be unique to you. You can derive strength, inspiration, information from the community, but no matter what, it's going to be your journey that's going to be unique to you. And you kind of just need to trust the process and have some faith in yourself, in the process, and trust yourself to make good choices and quiet the noise. There's going to be a lot of noise around you, a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts, some good intentions, some poorly intentioned, but just focus on yourself. Take one step at a time and focus on yourself and let the journey unfold for you as it does. And that's the way it's supposed to go.
I love it.
I would say to the men, I think sometimes it's harder for us to accept that it's not our fault, that this is not a cheating tool. You know, you're not just going to walk to the store because there's a car, right? So why would you not take this medication? It's not cheating. It's not a shortcut. It's just the latest technological innovation. There's a lot of data around it. I know it's scary. I know it might seem daunting, but it's life-changing. And I hope that if you get on the journey and you're willing to share with the community, that you do, because there's room for all of us here, especially the men.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on YouTube and on TikTok.
What I would say to somebody in this platform and what you guys are doing are, success is found when nobody's watching. When you are by yourself, whether it's affirmations, whether it's, you know, meal prepping, whether it's exercising, if that's what you want to do. A lot of that stuff built up after a while. You know, it's like stepping stones. So just go out, be the best person you want to be. That's not going to be the same for everybody. So
I would say two things: choose your chains and choose your pain. For those of you guys that are, you know, just starting, you're likely, you know, overweight and dealing with a plethora of medical issues, and those are all painful things, and probably dealing with a lot of fear and anxiety about starting. And you're never going to just be ready, right? Like, that's not a thing. Like, you have to just start, take that first step, and, you know, stop making excuses of why you can't, and start finding reasons on why you can. And you're already hurting and you're already in pain, so you might as well get a reward from it. And I didn't say that. That's ET to the hip hop preacher. He's awesome. But you know, that there's so much truth in that. And like, if you're in poor health, you are living a shorter life, and you're in a lot of pain. And, you know, being in the gym and choosing the right health tools and eating the right things all the time, like, that can be painful too. But it is worth it. It is worth every bit of money. It is worth every bit of effort, blood, sweat, tears, all of it. It's worth it, because you will absolutely unlock the best potential of your life.
Charles?
I would say get off the bench and get in the game. Stop watching from the sidelines. It's time to join the game if you're thinking about it. And I would be remiss to say, if I don't say this, being because of my journey, if you are a man that is 45, if you're a black man that's 45, or any man of any race that's 45 that has a family history of prostate cancer, ask your doctor for an annual PSA screening. It's important that you get screened.
Mm-hmm.
Black men, we are 80% more likely to get prostate cancer and twice as likely to die from it. So take your health into your hands, ask your doctor for a PSA test. It should be free under your insurance. Ask for one annually.
Charles, you're the only reason I got a PSA test. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for getting one.
Jay?
The only thing I have to say is choose to be the ripple. And what that means is that by choosing your health and by sharing your journey, you can be the ripple effect that positively spreads to someone else's life. Whether it's someone in your family who you will be around for longer, whether it's a stranger that needs to hear that it's time for them to take care of their health. Choose to be the ripple. Make the choice to be around longer. Make the choice to share what it means to be around longer. Choose the ripple.
Love it.
Choose the ripple.
My closing thought is a quote. True masculinity isn't measured by silent suffering. It's in the courage to heal out loud, to rewrite your story, and to show others what strength lives in vulnerability. And tonight, every man on this panel did just that. So thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you so much for your time and your voice and sharing. Thank you to Dave, and thank you to everyone in the chat. I am so sorry that we went over, but I love you guys, and I hope that everyone joins us next time.
Love you guys.
Thank y'all.